Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the 2017 USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships, where today we'll see two riders crowned with the Stars and Stripes jersey as the top Americans on the road race for the national championships. A beautiful course, a beautiful city for the host of this great race as we determine who the top American professional cyclists are, getting ready for our 109-mile men's professional road race. Coming up next as our riders just gathering on the start line here just outside of downtown Knoxville in a part of town called Old City, as we'll bring the top riders from around the country lining up on the front row. My name is Brad Soner, joined in the booth here by Dotsie Bausch in an incredible crowd here in Knoxville joining us. Dotsie, we have been blown away by the hospitality here in Knoxville over the last 2 days.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. The crowds were great from the women, but they have really built for the men.
Well, plenty of people out to watch the racing. Let's take a look at what they're going to see today as we have a great course set up for our pro man about to head out. As I said before, it starts just outside of downtown here, just past the freeway, part town called Old City. They then skirt the outside of downtown across the Tennessee River, and then it gets into the real big climb of the day. This is the decisive part of the course, going up Sherrod Road. Again, not a long climb, but it is very punchy and very steep. They then make their way down off the climb, back over the river, a left-hand turn onto the finish line, and then a downhill run to the finish. And we saw in the women's field sprint that could be a major factor in determining our Stars and Stripes winner today as the new or possibly defending national champion here in Knoxville. So we had our time trial national championships yesterday, our pro road races here today, and we are thrilled to have our friends at WATE joining us on the broadcast here at the USA Cycling National Championships. Before we get to the race action, let's go down to Trent McGill on course.
Hey, Brad, we are super excited to be out here. We're right here on the start-finish line, and that's that downhill you guys were talking about. That was so much importance during the females road race earlier this morning. Here comes the racers. They're getting ready to line up here. Again, we start here at 1:15, and the crowd is already electric. Let's hear it, Knoxville. Are we ready for this? So if you're not down here, you've got to get down here. This is going to be great. The weather is turning out. If you're from Knoxville and you're watching WATE 6 on your side, you know I'm the morning meteorologist, so I'm going to have to talk a little bit of weather, and it doesn't get better than this. The humidity from the last week is gone. The sun is still here, so make sure you guys get it down here. Brad, this is going to be a great day.
Oh, no fans like cycling fans and no hosts like Knoxville. The crowd's really turning out in force and with enthusiasm as well. We got a great mix of cycling fans and folks maybe seeing their first bike race for the first time. We've also got Emily Proud joining us here on our broadcast team. Let's go down to Emily.
Hey guys, I'm here inside the expo where everything is going on. Anything you need, you got it here. We got food trucks, beer. I think there's a chocolate fountain and a fondue pot over here. I don't know. I'm going to check it out later, but you guys should come in here. It's perfect for families. Again, as I said, we got the Sierra Nevada beer station over here for the adults. And then way in the back, the kids can actually pretend to be a cyclist. There's a little mini track with some adorable tiny bikes for your kids. I highly suggest you guys come out over here. It's going to be a long day of racing. We have almost 110 miles ahead of us. So to spend that time in between laps, come on over here to the expo. But for now, guys, back to you.
All right, we're going to hear more from Emily and Trent as the day goes on. Our WATE reporters on the ground here in Knoxville. We're getting ready for our men's start. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the pro men will be underway in racing for the national championships in Knoxville.
Good afternoon and welcome to the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships in Knoxville, Tennessee. We are thrilled to watch these elite athletes as they take to the streets of Knoxville.
Our region has been a cycling destination for a long time, and our climbs have their own reputation. It will be a challenge to even the most experienced cyclist.
Join us now to cheer them on as they compete for the coveted Stars and Stripes jersey.
Right on.
Welcome back, Knoxville, Tennessee, host of the USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships as we get ready for 109 miles of racing for the pro men These will be 109 of the toughest miles that these guys will face all year as we bring the top talent with all the big Americans coming to the front of this field to race it out for the Stars and Stripes jersey. My name is Brad Soner, being joined in the booth by Olympic silver medalist Dotsie Bausch as we take a look at all the heavy hitters on the front of the field. Dotsie, Alex Howes, second place last year out of Boulder, Colorado. You know this feeling when you get that second place, you are hungry to finally get that win.
Yes, and he looks hungry and like Elvis right now, right? He just took that helmet off, slipped through the hair. I think that really the theme for today is the depth.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about the favorites, and there's like 10 of them. It's so deep today. But I think that, you know, the theme of the day two is from the women's race is when you hesitate, you pay the price. And these guys know that, and that's what happened last year, right? There was that hesitation when Greggy Daniels attacked, and nobody did anything. So, you know, you can't not hesitate at a race this big.
Well, that is actually Greg Daniel on your screen. His teammate, Keel Ryan, just a couple riders to his right. Greg Daniel, the defending champion, a surprise winner last year. Those graphics switched up as we move over to Alex Howes and Joey Rosskopf, our winner of the time trial yesterday. Brent Bookwalter, the other rider in the BMC jersey in the red and black there. Couple BMC riders here. Boy, what a day it was yesterday for Joey Rosskopf, the man out of Georgia for the BMC squad. He really had one of the best days of his career, winning the time trial national championship here in Knoxville yesterday.
Yeah, and got the monkey off his back, as he's been saying on his website for a while. That is his ultimate goal. He wants a Stars and Stripes jersey, and he got it. So he's going to be able to race today nice and relaxed. And as we saw, Amber Neben being able to race nice and relaxed, and look what happened.
Greenville, South Carolina's Chris Butler being joined by his Caja teammate. And Larry Warbass making his way up as well. That's Justin Oyen out of Escondido, California. Boy, a lot of big names in this race. Dotsie, this race is so special because so many of these riders spend most of their year racing in Europe. A guy like Larry Warbass will race in the United States once, maybe twice per year. So to come back here, not only race in the United States and race for the Stars and Stripes is huge. Speaking of favorites and racing here in the United States, Stephen Bassett, the hometown hero out of Knoxville, Tennessee, as the world stage comes to his backyard. Man, it does not get much better than this week for Stephen Bassett.
He's going to love the thrill of racing in front of the home crowd. Larry Warbass, I tell you, that is a dark horse today because he just won a stage of the Tour de Suisse, and he was fifth yesterday. And, you know, people are starting to talk about him, but I think he needs to be more of a part of the major conversation going into today's race, in my opinion.
Well, this man, one of the big favorites, Travis McCabe for the powerhouse United Healthcare Pro Cycling Team, one of the most dominant domestic American programs, which has been growing year after year. They're racing a lot more in Europe, and Travis McCabe has been knocking on the door of a Stars and Stripes jersey. So he has been on the top of a lot of people's list of favorites coming into this one. There is a lot of pressure on Travis McCabe's shoulders.
Well, he's the one to watch. I mean, he's such a strong rider who likes to sprint, but man, can he suffer up climbs. Pretty long climbs, actually, 10, 15 minutes, but he is so explosive and so punchy, and so this race is really tailor-made to him. For me, it's McCabe. It's at the start line. That's who I think really has the best shot, but we'll see how it plays out.
El Dorado Hills, California's own Evan Huffman, another big name that we're going to be watching. You'll see a lot of those orange jerseys of the Rally Cycling Team. That is another American-based squad. We see those guys racing here in the United States quite a bit, so they're going to be comfortable on the bikes and with the field racing here in Knoxville. We saw a few more riders moving up in the very back there. You see those black jerseys with the neon yellow helmets. That is a team called Holoesco Citadel, based out of Greenville, South Carolina, and this is a huge talent team. They're going to have riders like Robin Carpenter, who we're going to be talking about quite a bit today, I think. But that's one of the dangerous things about these big teams. They've got so many riders that can win this race, that can win the Stars and Stripes jersey. So you never know who to follow out here at the 2017 USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Riders getting their call up to the lines. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with race action from Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome back to the U.S. Professional Road National Championships. The riders on the line getting ready to take off for 109 miles of racing around beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee. At the end of the day today, one of these men will wear the Stars and Stripes jersey as they are crowned as the Professional Road National Champion. TJ Eisenhart getting into the crowd here in Knoxville, and what a crowd it is, turning out in force to support the best professional cyclists as they all come to Knoxville to determine who the best American will be in 2017. As we said, 109.9 miles on tap today. That'll be 16 laps of the 7.9-mile course just outside of downtown Knoxville. It's only 717 feet of elevation gain per lap, but they're going to feel that right around lap 5 or 6. They're going to feel the sting of that Sherrod Road climb in their legs, as we do believe that will be the decisive point on the course. It's all going to come down to who's got the heart and who's got the legs in Knoxville, Tennessee, to determine who will wear the Stars and Stripes jersey for the remainder of the 2017 season and the rest of the 2018 season. Well, Dotsie riders getting their final instructions on the line. A lot of nerves up here at the front. There is a lot of pressure on the shoulders of these men today.
Yeah, and it's just such a deep field, but it's just a massive field, right? So the beginning of that first lap is really just kind of like, you know, getting settled and getting your place. Here we go.
All right, riders getting their final countdown on the front row. And we're underway in racing in Knoxville. The 2017 USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships are underway. Well, I have a feeling this one's going to get started early. This is going to be a very aggressive race. We're going to see a lot of attacks coming off the front. Dotsie, to win a race like this, you have to take big risks, and this will favor the bold in Knoxville today.
You cannot win if you don't try. And we saw that in the women's race, but you see that really in almost every bike race. You've got to stick your nose out there, right? I think that we are going to see an early break. I mean, that's just pretty much a foregone conclusion. I think we'll see something in the first couple of laps that has a representative from every team, and then we'll see what they do with it. Obviously, it's almost double the length of the women's race, so there's going to be a lot more time for a lot more scenarios to unfold.
102 riders on the start list. These are all of the professional men's racers, so you have to have a professional contract in order to race here at the Road National Championships. So these truly are the best of the best racing through the streets of Knoxville. It looks like we've already got a couple riders taking a look off the front. As we said, you're going to see a lot of attacks coming off the front, kind of like playing cards. It's a constant shuffling and reshuffling. They're going to be dealt a lot of hands, and it's really a matter of finding that right breakaway. There will be a breakaway that goes away and stays away up the road. The question is, when will it go, who will be in it, and who's going to be a part of it? Here's the course that the riders will be facing today. The start line in the top left of this map, they make that left-hand turn onto Central Avenue. Then it'll take them over the Gay Street Bridge, which spans the Tennessee River, and that really begins the start of the climb onto Sherrod Road. Again, it's not a long climb, but very steep. They come down off of Davenport Road, and that will put them onto the James White Parkway. So there's an entrance off of the parkway. They then go up onto the freeway, across the river, and then back over onto Hill Avenue, where they'll make the left-hand turn off of Harriet Tubman Street onto McCullough Avenue and back to the finish line. So as the riders head out, we're going to take a short break here in Knoxville. When we come back, we'll pick up live action from out on course. You're watching the 2017 USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships. Welcome back, pro men on the Sherrod Road climb, the big climb of the day here on the course in Knoxville. Everyone taking a look at the front, and Dotsie, the action just getting started. We're seeing the first attacks coming off the front. This is going to be Rally Cycling sending one of their riders. It may be the first, but it won't be the last attack we see on Sherrod Road.
And especially not from Rally, because they have 12 athletes in today's race, which is obviously something rare. Normally in a professional race, the limit is 9, but they get to have 12 because they're all Americans and they wanted to line up today, so there's 12 of them. And I was looking super close to see what chain ring they're in, right? We were talking about that earlier. Are they going up this in the big chain ring? Maybe not quite yet, but I think that they will take it in the big chain ring later on in the laps.
Gearing is a big choice on these bikes and on these climbs as to which gear the riders are going to use on the way up. They have 2 chain rings in the front and 11 gears to choose from in the back, the rear cassette. So it's about finding the right combination of gearing that's just right for your cadence, for your strength, and to get it just right on the hill. So riders trying to get that just right. It may take a couple laps before they get it dialed in at race pace, but gearing choice could be very important on the Sherrod Road climb today. Meanwhile, looks like things starting to string out on the front. That rally rider coming back in, and now some new riders taking a look on the front. And you see they look over their shoulder. They're trying to see if they have created any gaps, if they have opened up any time to any other riders, maybe trying to get their own breakaway started here, as now they're going to make their way back down. You can see the elevation profile here. That big climb comes just a little over 2 miles into the stage, so it got started pretty quickly. Again, they're going to be doing this multiple times, 14 laps on tap for these guys today, so that's 14 times up the climb. It's a pretty fast descent coming off of the big climb. That takes them down to about 3 miles into the stage, and then it's really lumpy from there, Dotsy. A lot of ups and downs. There's not any big climbs after that, but it's these short little riders. It really does put the sting in the legs.
Yes, and there's 13 turns, sharp turns each lap. So, you know, just like the women's, there's going to be a lot of on-off, and it's really going to favor a rider that can adapt to that explosiveness. And you can already see, I mean, you know, it's just so much better to get out front when you're in a pack that's that large, especially on a narrow, twisty descent. So you can already see 5 riders kind of sneaking off, but looks like they got a long line behind them. But I think that we're going to see something fairly soon that'll snap off the front.
Yeah, we were talking about breakaways on the climb. It is probably a little too early for a breakaway to go. Typically they go a little closer to halfway through the race, the successful breakaways that get away. Not for a lack of trying, but I think a lot of these guys are just at the front because they wanted a clean line coming off of that descent. It's very twisty, it's very narrow coming off of Sherrod Road, so they wanted to make sure that they had an open road ahead of them. This, however, is definitely a breakaway attempt here with the first rider trying to go away. Unfortunately, no one is going to go with them. In this situation, you want to take multiple riders with you to share the workload in the breakaway. It really comes down to drafting. Just like NASCAR drivers will draft off of one another, trying to save gas, these guys will do the same thing, trying to save energy. The rider on the front is doing about 30% more work than the other riders that have a draft to sit behind. So if you go into a breakaway, if you jump off the front of this race, you definitely want to take at least one rider with you.
Yeah, and that's why you'll see so much jockeying here right now. Is you know they're kind of talking about who's going to be taking that front point, because it's so much more relaxed and you use so much less energy when you are in that slipstream, nice and tucked in there.
Another jump coming from one of the Caja Rural riders in the green jersey. They just made their way through the feed zone, which is going to be a very important part on the course today because this is such a long race with 109 miles on tap. These riders will be able to take water bottles from their team staff along the side of the road in order for them to stay hydrated and stay cool on a day like today. But it's really chaotic in that feed zone with 102 riders trying to grab water bottles from the team. It can get sometimes a little bit sketchy in that feed zone. So that part of the course that they're just coming off now could be a lot of action there today.
Yeah, and it's pretty warm. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot more sticky than I did during the women's race. It's really starting to get hot and humid, and these guys have a long way to go. So again, theme of the day, staying hydrated and staying fueled.
Another attack coming away here, a solo rider getting away as he takes a look back. Dotsy is looking for help. He's looking for other riders that may be coming up to join him in the breakaway. Unfortunately, doesn't look like he's getting any of it, so he's going to be left out there all by himself, and that's a tough place to be. We'll see if he continues rolling it. He's trying to get as aerodynamic as possible here. Remember, I talked about that extra 30% of work. What he's trying to do here is minimize his frontal profile, get as low and aero as possible, and just hope that someone else will come up to help him out.
is not ideal to be solo with 107 miles to go. So he is definitely looking back going, okay, we see some separation. He sees 3, 4, 5 guys charging. You can see them, they're getting ready to connect to him very soon. And that's what he wants, right? He wants 4 or 5 guys to go with him, and that'll create a pretty solid breakaway that I think, you know, we can easily see it get 5 minutes.
Elbows Racing, the team getting off the front in the blue and white jersey, the squad out of Austin, Texas, with Justin Stanley, Brant Speed, Stefan Roth, and Kevin Gherkins. It looks like that one's going to be swallowed up pretty quickly. So just making their way out onto the James White Parkway right now. And you see the looking around at the front of the field. What they're doing is taking inventory. They know that another jump is coming. Somebody else will try to get away from this group. It's not a question of if, but when. And now the battle for position at the front comes as well. Look at all these riders trying to move up, using this wide parkway as an opportunity to gain some position here.
Just the sheer volume of the men compared to the women sort of lends itself to many shufflings happening at the beginning of the race, whereas the women, you see that initial breakaway go and then it will stick. But we're going to see probably 3, 4, 5, 6, like definitely some different groups of riders here off the front until the pack in the back and those teams are happy or content with the riders that they have off the front.
Yeah, one of the big things that we look for in a breakaway is that all the major teams are represented. If one of the larger teams doesn't have a rider in a front group that separates away, they're going to be chasing that group down. So look for the major teams to have a rider represented in the breakaway. Teams like Rally, teams like Hollow Citadel we'll talk about a lot. United Healthcare, one of the big teams that we'll be watching. So there really are a lot of variables that go into a breakaway. And today it's really not a question of if, but when the breakaway gets away. We just have to find the right combination of riders to get up the road for the field to let that group roll away. We see a lot of these races where the formula is the early break, they stay away all day, and then the field starts chasing in the closing kilometers to see the catch made just in the last maybe 5 or 6 miles is typically where they catch the breakaway. They slowly reel them back in. But today I think we're going to see some very aggressive racing. These guys don't have a lot to lose here in the national championships. You might as well put it all on the line, and that's one of the great things about the Road National Championships. These guys came to Knoxville to play, no question about that.
Yeah, somebody we really have to keep our eye on who is an absolute breakaway specialist is Robin Carpenter. He's been a pro since 2012, and I really think that we'll see him in something off the front today. That's where he excels. He's punchy, he's an all-arounder, and he was very successful beginning of the season winning Joe Martin's stage race.
Well, another big break going off the front here. This is going to be CCB trying to give it a go. Believe that was John Harris in the pink and blue jersey. He's got 4 riders with him, with 1 rider trying to go across, but a lot of big teams have missed this breakaway. United Healthcare is missing. Hollow Citadel is missing, so they're going to be putting riders on the front to try to bring this one back. Elbows has a rider in there as well, and that's going to be the blue and white jersey of Justin Stanley. And again, now Rally in the orange jersey at the very front right there, number 38, that is Tom Soliday, and that's going to be one of the bigger teams that we'll be keeping an eye on out there today. So Rally will be happy with this move, but a lot of the other big teams are going to be questioning this one. Jake Silverberg also in this break. As we take a look at the Rally rider, Tom Soliday. Well, they've already got 15 seconds over the front of the field, so this group clearly came to play. They're working really well together. When we talk about working together, it's about sharing the workload on the front, doing that extra 30% of work. Everyone should be taking turns. After you take your turn at the front, you go to the back of the group and then wait until it's your turn again. So this group working really well together. Again, 15 seconds for what is now 5 riders away up the road. All right, so as we keep our eye on them, just over 14 minutes into the race, we're going to step away and take a short break here as we pick up the action live from the 2017 USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships from Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome back. Pro men's field out on course right now. We saw a breakaway of 5 riders away earlier. They have been caught while we were in break. Another rider just tried to go away, but looks like he is going to be reeled back in here. That's Team Illuminate in the all-black kit. We'll be talking about them quite a bit today. One of the more aggressive teams in these domestic races. They actually race their bikes all over the world. We'll talk more about them here in just a bit as you see the front of this field. Dotsie, talk a little about what we're seeing here. The shape of the field strung out, single file, front to back. What's that tell you?
Yeah, it tells me that they're already starting to suffer. And they still have a really long way to go. I mean, this is nationals. They're going for it 100%, and they want to be in a breakaway because, as we said during the women's race, it is much better, it's much easier, and it's much safer to go up that steep climb and that really twisty, narrow descent downhill if it's 5 of you instead of 105 of you. So they want to get in that early break. They want to get some TV time. They want to show off their team. They want to test out their legs. So I think we're going to keep seeing this be on the gas all the way until we have a decisive break that everyone is content with.
Well, Stefan Roth going on the attack. The man out of Austin, Texas, making a jump off the front of the field for the Elbows Racing team. He brings 3 teammates with him, 4 riders on that Elbows squad as they come back through for the first lap to the cheers of the crowd here in Knoxville. Stefan maybe just trying to get an unobstructed view of the great crowds here in downtown Knoxville.
Awesome. Nice breeze for us as the peloton rolls through because they're moving at 35 miles an hour.
So again, 13 laps of racing to go. The guy's doing 14 total laps of the 7.9-mile course today. And for a lot of these guys, that just means 14 times up that big climb. They've already done 1. They got 13 to go. So Rolf trying to hang on as he moves off the front. A lot of energy here at the finish line. Let's go down to Trent McGill on course.
Hey, Brad, check it out. Everybody is still up. Even though they're gone, I mean, the energy and the intenseness from what just happened. I mean, you guys mentioned it right there. They're going over 35 miles per hour. So you can feel the wind off that pack as they roll right through the old city here. So come on down here. I know they roll through, but there's TV screens everywhere. There's tons of stuff to do, and we're having an absolute blast down here. I mean, everybody, come on, are we excited? Nice. Bring your cowbells, bring your horns and everything, and just come on down to Knoxville. Brad, this crowd is electric.
Thank you very much, Trent. Man, what a great crowd here in Knoxville. Not just the cycling fans, but the locals turning out in force to support these riders from all over the country as well. We love being here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Back on board with Stefan Roth, our leader off the front for the Elbows Racing team. Now again, he's going to need some help here. He can't do this all by himself. This is certainly a daring move, and what he's trying to do is entice other riders to go with him. He's sort of showing his strength here and saying, hey, look, I'm strong. I want to get a breakaway. Who wants to go with me? He's fishing for other riders that maybe have the same mindset for their plan in the race today.
Yeah, and you take the chance and you hope people come with you, but sometimes they don't, and then you're not going to give up. So, you know, he's definitely on the gas, but I would say not 100% because he is hoping and praying that some are going to join him, which is a good possibility on the climb.
Yeah, you see him looking back a lot underneath his elbow. He's trying to see if anyone is coming off the front of the field or if he's just wasting his energy off the front here. If he's out here for 3, 4, 5 minutes and no one comes across, it's going to be pretty clear that no one wants to work with him, and he'll probably pull the plug on this breakaway at that point. He'll say, yeah, if no one wants to help, I get it, that's fine, and he'll go back into the group. But right now he's leaving the door open, inviting other riders to come up and work with him because Stefan Roth absolutely needs help if he's going to make this breakaway work today. It doesn't have to be from a teammate. You sort of form a pseudo alliance out there on the road when you get into a breakaway together. Dotsie, you've spent some long days in the breakaway in your career. Talk about that conversation when you come up. Everyone all of a sudden gets on the same page, whether you're teammates, ex-teammates, or really bitter enemies. You have to work together to have a successful breakaway.
Yes, it's talk about instant BFF. It is in the moment you join forces in the women's race. When we saw Amber Neben, the eventual winner, join Emily Newson, they worked together perfectly until Emily got dropped on the climb because you need each other. That's also that 30% draft that you're getting when you're behind each other. So then you take very specific rotations. You know, each of you will work 20, 30 seconds and then go in the back and take the draft, and the next person 20, 30 seconds. So you'll see a real rhythm to a breakaway when 4 or 5 riders probably will join, and then everybody is really going to get to see the beauty of cycling at its best with that rhythmic nature it can have.
All right, on to the Sherrod Road climb. My legs hurt just looking at this one as Stefan Roth leads onto the climb with a 20-second gap over the front of the field. So he's going to continue trying to roll this one for the Elbows team, but he's got a pretty good lead heading on to the climb. We'll see what it is when he goes up and over the top.
We have confirmation that he is in his 53 chainring, so
right.
Yes, that is the Big Daddy, unless he has a 54 on,
well,
which is entirely possible. But he looks calm, cool, and collected, and very strong heading up this only the second time.
Yeah, talking about the big chainring on the front. As I said earlier, they have a choice of 2 gears on the front, and most riders will have 11 gears to choose from on the back as they make their way up and over the climb. Dotsie, talking about the bikes here, the big thing now is the electronic shifting. These guys will have small motors on the bikes that are used to move the derailleurs over to shift the chain over. It's not the old cable pull system that you probably have on the bike hanging in your garage. The technology on these bicycles truly is incredible. Average weight of these things right around 15 pounds. Really, some pretty incredible machines.
Yeah, they're so spoiled since I retired electronic. I still say no, my wrist works just fine. I could shift. But yes, exactly what we were speaking of. See, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that are going to connect, I think, and come over the top of this climb and then all out on the downhill to create that separation from the peloton.
Well, Stefan Roth solo away. We said that might have been a bold move, but earlier today we saw an incredible race in our pro women's field with a solo rider getting away, really shocking that pro women's field as she made the jump away. It started as a breakaway of 5 riders that were away first. They got the breakaway together and were working very well together. One more rider came up to join. It was Abigail Mickey of the Colavita Bianchi team who went across the gap. That made it 6 into the breakaway, and she went just about 18 minutes into the race, the rider out of Colorado. Then it was Janelle Cole, Holly Breck, Monica Volk, Jennifer Tetrick, Emily Newsom, and Abigail Mickey. So that group rode together for a while. They got a pretty good gap over the field. It was about 1.5 minutes at this point as they came back through the line. And we were thinking this break was going to try and roll it all the way to the line.
Yeah, and they certainly gave it a go until Emily Newsom finally did a really decisive attack here on that open, kind of windy freeway and just rode a ray. It was so impressive, so much power. Texas State time trial champion 2 years in a row, so we knew what she was capable of.
Yeah, the ride of a lifetime for the mother of 2 out of Texas. Meanwhile, behind her, the rest of her former breakaway companions got swallowed up by the field, and this is where the fireworks really started. There were attacks coming left and right out of this group. Once they caught her, once they caught the break, they went right by those riders. Meanwhile, Newsom was so good on the front, calm, cool, and collected. But heading into the final lap, she had a big problem coming up behind her in the form of the time trial world champion and yesterday's time trial national champion, Amber Neben, who jumped out of the field. She eventually caught Newsom as they made their way onto the climb, and that would be the last time that Amber Neben saw Emily Newsom as she dropped Newsom heading up the Sherrod Road climb one final time, and that was it for Amber Neben. What a huge ride for Emily Newsom. All the credit in the world to her, but the day belonged to Amber Neben. The world time trial champion goes on a solo attack, and there was no looking back for her.
The timing was just perfect. When we talked to her in her interview, she said, I thought about going earlier. I really was thinking that was going to be the right move, and she said, of course, I'm so glad I didn't. And that's the thing that we have to remember. Timing is so integral into a one-day big championship race like this, and she timed it to perfection because we're going to see, here comes the field.
Yeah, what a year it was for Amber Neben as she just barely holds off the field to take a national championship, to add another Stars and Stripes jersey to her resume, and she was absolutely exhausted. Well, they are awarding those riders on the podium right now. This is Emma White, who was awarded the Stars and Stripes jersey for the U23 National Championship. She ended up 5th place on the stage today, but was the top rider under the age of 23. So they are scored separately, and Emma White will wear the Stars and Stripes jersey for this next season anytime she races on the road. What a huge talent Emma White is coming from that rally squad.
Absolutely phenom. Yeah, she's showed some of the big guns, the big warriors this year that she is up and coming. She's like 20 years old.
And as a young rider already having that Stars and Stripes jersey, certainly going to get her noticed by a lot of big teams, although I think most of the teams already know that name, Emma White. So our men's field out on course looks like all coming back together. Just trying to get things sorted at the front, trying to figure out who's going to go into the breakaway. This team in green is a team called Avolo Cycling. Hear a little bit more about them later in the day. I think they're going to be pretty aggressive. They've got a lot of young talent on that team. Riders very similar to Emma White in a U23 competition for the top rider under the age of 23. Boy, more splits happening at the front here. They're being really aggressive early on. We're only 27 minutes in, heading out on the second lap of racing for the pro men right now.
Just really hungry for a breakaway. It's also going to give some of the top dogs their legs a chance to kind of relax a little bit in the middle of the race if a breakaway gets off. So, but sometimes you see this with so many riders from some of these bigger teams. Sometimes you just kind of see it this way, where it just, people just keep connecting the dots, and then it's strung out, and then a breakaway takes a while for it to form.
Well, that's why breakaways are so important in this race. There's so many good sprinters here at the U.S. Professional Road National Championships that if you don't think that you have a good sprint, you don't think you're capable in winning in a sprint, then you've got to win out of a breakaway. And a lot of riders knew that, both in the women's race and the men's race. Amber Neiman, not a great sprinter, but a great time trialist, so she knew she had to make her jump early. Now, other riders like Corinne Rivera, who are maybe better sprinters than breakaway riders, they wanted to keep the race together because they thought that they would be able to win. Unfortunately for Corinne Rivera, she was not able to catch Amber Neiman as Neiman stayed away. Rivera on the podium in second place, and Ruth Winder finds third place in the pro women's race for the United Healthcare team.
Amber was so happy, and that's Corinne's third silver medal. And when they were racing coming to the finish, we said there's a couple girls that would die for that silver medal, and there's a couple girls that are going to be very disappointed with that silver medal. And Corinne was disappointed, but she's a champion through and through, and it's coming to her, so just like you told her.
Yeah, Amber Neiman zipping up the Stars and Stripes jersey, awarded the gold medal from USA Cycling President and CEO Derek Bouchard Hall. Corinne Rivera in second place, and Ruth Winder finds the podium for a bronze medal in third. What a special weekend for Amber Neiman. 2 Stars and Stripes jerseys. She won the time trial national championship yesterday, won the road race today at 42 years old, still riding at the top of her game. Listen to that crowd roaring for Amber Neiman.
Amber's literally almost double these two ladies that flank her. That's pretty incredible.
Well, these ladies earned the Sierra Nevada today. Yes, they'll have the Sierra Nevada celebration on the podium. And a well-deserved beverage for our pro women's podium. Amber Neiman, Corinne Rivera, Ruth Winder go 1, 2, and 3. What a special moment, Dotsy, to zip up that Stars and Stripes jersey. There's no feeling in the world like it, knowing you're going to be representing your country all over the world next year. All right, back with the front of our men's race out on the road right now. A couple riders still trying to get away, but they haven't found that magic formula in the breakaway just yet. But hold on, because we know it's coming. All right, so as we keep our eye on those guys up the road, we're going to step back for one more short break, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back. Professional men out on the road right now, making their way off of the parkway here, completing or getting ready to complete their second of 14 laps around the course in Knoxville. We've already seen a lot of riders trying to get off the front, but so far nothing successful, not for a lack of trying. Really aggressive racing at the front so far, Dotsy.
Yeah, it's been really aggressive. I don't think we've seen even one moment like this. We get a little bit of a lull here. I mean, at some point you just have to say, okay, got to take a breath, because everybody has been, participating in these moves to get into the breakaways. But I think it's just too many excited legs, right?
Yeah, a lot of riders have been trying here, especially for the smaller teams. This is a really good way to get yourself noticed if you can get into a breakaway or the breakaway of the day, as we see with these two riders. The Arapahoe Resources rider in the green and blue kit. Certainly going to have some riders taking notice here.
Here's what happens a lot, which you don't normally expect. Usually you think of a breakaway starting from a very explosive, specific attack with purpose. But sometimes when you have had a series of attacks and the legs are a little bit tired, you can have a couple riders like this just roll off the front.
Sure.
And then just nobody really reacted. And then before we know it, they have 20, 30 seconds.
Well, that's Grant Kuntz in the blue kit with the green highlights, riding that green and black bike. And then at the front of the group, point number 26, is a rider named Kayla Marshall for the Canyon Bicycles team out of Stanford, California. Looks like they're going to try and get together and try and work together here. Even though they're on different teams, they're going to work together just like teammates because they need each other in the breakaway. Looks like a third rider is going to come up and join these two, so that'll make it 3. 3 may not be enough on a long day like today. I would think maybe 5, 6 riders might be the magic number, but you just never know. That's one of the great things about bike racing.
There is a very special descending tactic that I'm still afraid to do, but it will get you there faster if you can stay upright.
Yeah, this is Brendan Rim coming down for the Holowesco Citadel Racing Team. This will be one of the most aggressive teams in the race today. I call that the paycheck tuck, better known as the super tuck, but we only recommend that if you're earning a paycheck to ride your bike, because you really don't have any control over the bike at that point. It's all about going fast, but that's what these guys are paid to do. Absolutely fearless to be a professional rider.
Yeah, that is a don't try this in home scenario.
For all the kids out there watching, best left to the professionals.
Exactly. I agree with you that we're going to need to see some friends join the pack here with these 3 guys. It's going to take 6 or 7 of them for this to have the power and the force to head away from the pack.
Well, more of the big teams are starting to send riders up. Holowesco Citadel was the first to send Brendan Rim up, and now United Healthcare has come up as well. That's going to be the all-blue kids, which I think we're going to be hearing a lot of today. They are probably riding for a man named Travis McCabe, who is one of the best sprinters in the United States right now, but also one of the best all-around riders. If Travis McCabe can survive in this race, if he can make it the full distance, he is going to be a major player at the finish. So got to think that United Healthcare is going to be working for McCabe to make sure that he's there at the end of this one. But sure enough, the field chases that breakaway down. They're all back together as they come back through the line here. 12 laps to go. Look at the speed. These guys at 30 miles an hour on the line as they are absolutely cooking through Old Town Knoxville. Into the turns. The other thing about riding in a peloton like this, Dotsie, you really got to trust the riders around you. I mean, you're talking about an inch in front of you, an inch behind you, and an inch on either side of you. You're surrounded by riders, and you just have to hope that they're professionals, they're going to hold their line, but there's a lot of trust in your fellow rider in a race like this.
There is a lot of trust, and you really do get to know who you best like to take corners behind. I mean, I always had like about 5 ladies that I really knew were so safe and gonna take it safe no matter what. And you get to know your friends and of course your teammates, but these guys are making selections on who they're gonna really rail a turn with behind.
Oh man, this is huge. Stephen Bassett, Knoxville, Tennessee's own, on the attack right now. The local hero goes on the solo attack. Now Bassett rides for a team called Silver. It's a Canadian-based squad in the orange and black jersey, so he'll be the only one racing here because he doesn't have any teammates, any American pro teammates on that Silver squad. And boy, this is a really special ride for Stephen Bassett to ride in your hometown. When he heard that the national championships would be coming to Knoxville, Tennessee, he put a big red circle on his calendar for today's date because he knew this is going to be about as good as it gets as he went on the attack through the start-finish in front of his friends and family. Dotsie, as a professional bike racer, there's no better feeling.
Absolutely not, and I think he will continue to try and put on a show today. And he has the Palmares to do this. I mean, he's pulled off some pretty exciting wins. In 2016, he won stage 6 of Cascade, which in my opinion is the hardest stage in Cascade. So he has it in there. He has it in his legs, and then with this crowd and this hometown energy that'll cheer him through, I think that we better keep an eye on him today.
Well, Bassett just spending a little time off the front, getting a little bit of TV time, and it looks like he's going to go back into the group as he got what he came here for. So as Stephen Bassett goes back into the field, we'll reset, getting ready for another attack. We'll come back after this from the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Just over 40 minutes into our professional men's road race as we determine who will wear the Stars and Stripes jersey here at the USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships. The front of our men's race on the Sherrod Road climb right now as they make their way up and over just outside of downtown Knoxville, completing the next of what will be 14 laps of racing in the 109-mile race. Let's talk about some of the teams on the front here. Dotsy, Rally in the orange, United Healthcare in the blue, and Holoesco Citadel in the black, the third position here. These are three of the most important teams to watch at the front of the race today.
Yes, they are, because they really have the most depth, right? The most amount of riders. We've got some really big guns here from other teams like BMC, right? So, but we just have two riders. We have Joey Roscoff and then Remy Bookwalter, which were first and second yesterday in the TT. So they are obviously clearly the ones to watch today. But they've got to kind of lay low, right? They just don't have the teammates, so they just have to fish around in the back, stay calm, stay relaxed, and let some of these teams with all these riders on them do the work.
Speaking of big riders without teams, I just saw Alexi Vermeulen move forward. He's a young rider out of Michigan. He rides for a Dutch team called Team Lotto Jumbo NL. It's, as I said, a Dutch squad. You'll see him run around fourth, maybe fifth wheel here. I don't think he's trying to get into a breakaway. I think he's just trying to stay out of trouble on this descent. As you said, the safest place to be on the way down is at the front of the bike race. You minimize your chances of having any problems. It's not so much that you're going to crash, but it's a rider in front of you going down, taking too big of a risk on this descent. United Healthcare rider going into that paycheck tuck on the way down. He can do that because he's on the front. You probably don't want to do that if you're back in the field, because you give up a lot of control on the bike. So that's one of the advantages to getting to the front on the climb. You're going to lead them on the way down.
And I don't know if you guys are noticing these like sewer grates on the side of the road. If you hit that wrong in that kind of tuck, it is bottoms up. So they were coming really quite close to them, but they're having to watch for those too, because some of those grades are actually far enough apart that these skinny tires will fit right in.
We were talking about trusting other riders earlier before we went to break, going into the turns. It's the same story on the descent. When you're following a rider, you're pretty much blindly following them. You have no idea what's in front of you. If they hit a pothole, you hit a pothole. If they hit a sewer grate, you hit a sewer grate. So this goes back to that shared mutual trust among this professional peloton. So now you see the guys looking back. What they're doing here is taking inventory. They're looking for their teammates. They're looking to see if any major riders have missed what is now a split forming in the field. I'm not going to call this a breakaway because there's so many riders on the right side of this split. This is what we call a selection. So if you're not in this front group, and this is why it's so important to ride at the front, this is going to split one by one as they head into the feed zone. Now you see all the team staff holding out bottles for the riders to grab. This is a tough thing to do, Dotsy. It looks so easy on TV. The pros make it look so easy, but grabbing a wet bottle at 30 miles an hour is actually one of the hardest things in this sport. All right, so as they make their way down through the feed zone, we got a little bit of time here on the line. Let's go down to Emily Proud with Kim Bumpus of Visit Knoxville.
Hey guys, I'm here with Kim Bumpus of Visit Knoxville, the biggest partner, the reason we're all here today. A lot of man hours went into getting this day to actually be here. So tell me, how is it? How's it going? What's going on?
It is amazing. I mean, the energy, the crowds. I mean, I'm almost in shock. It's so awesome to finally have this here and to see how Knoxville has come out to support this race. And the pros, they're loving Knoxville, and that's what we wanted.
I don't know, the big question is, are we going to see you guys back again? Is this going to be a reoccurring thing? Because clearly everybody is having a great time here.
1,000%, and we are all in. So yes, we are going to see this again, so people should get excited. And you know, we've learned a lot, so it's going to even be more amazing the more times we do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Brad, back to you.
Thank you very much, Emily, and thank you, Kim. Doing a great job with Visit Knoxville. Her team has been outstanding this week as they welcomed the country, really, to the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Couldn't think of a better partner than we have here in Knoxville. We're going to be back for the next 2 years, so really excited about that. All right, meanwhile, back with the pro men out on the road. Looks like the guys starting to find their rhythm out there, making sure that they're not too far towards the back because they don't want to get caught on the wrong side of the split. Rider wearing number 4 right there is a guy named Brent Bookwalter for the BMC Racing Team. He lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and is one of the top Americans racing professionally right now. So Bookwalter is the guy that we don't get to see race a lot on American soil. That's why the national championships are so important to a guy like him who races on the European-based BMC Racing Team. So to come back and race not far from home in Asheville, North Carolina, it's got to be great for Brent.
He recently raced the Dauphiné in France, and he was in support of Richie Porte, who, for Tour de France fans, are pretty excited and getting ready to see if he can win his first Tour de France in the overall. But Brent actually had a great result himself, a top 10 for himself in the time trial on stage 4, and then still rode really strong in support of Richie Porte. So when I talked to him before the race, he said, I really could not have had a better lead up into this race, and he feels stronger, he said, than he ever has before in his life. So watch out.
Wow. Noticing a lot of the big riders are hanging out at the back of this group. What they're doing is just trying to save their energy. They don't want to get overly ambitious on the front here. So they know that this race is probably going to come back together eventually. There's no reason for them to cover the moves, especially without a big team. So riders like Brent Bookwalter are just going to take it easy, sit in the group. All they have to do is make sure that they don't miss a major move. There are a couple riders trying to go off the front, and here's another one. Rally is sending another rider up the road to try to bridge. That's coming out of the main field to join the breakaway, and a lot of big teams going with this one. There goes United Healthcare. Avolo is going. That white jersey is going to be a team called Jelly Belly, sponsored by the Jelly Bean Company. And here goes BMC again. This will be Joey Rotzkopf, the only teammate that Brent Bookwalter has in this race. Boy, this is a major point in the race. Things are really starting to heat up now as this breakaway tries to go.
So the way that the team works is Joey is most definitely riding for his teammate Brent today, so he has got to get up in this break so that they are represented as a duo, because it's just the two of them, and so that Brent can sit back there relaxed in the knowledge that if that were to go to the line that Joey's got it. But it just really creates a calmer situation for Brent in the back, because if they both miss the break, then they've got a really tall order in front of them, especially if this break gets up to what we saw in the women's race, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
Josh Berry going solo away. This is Chris Butler out of Greenville, South Carolina, trying to bridge up to Berry from that Jelly Belly squad. Butler's another guy, the Caja Rural team, doesn't spend a whole lot of time racing in the U.S., and now here comes Brent Bookwalter. Boy, if Bookwalter covers a move like this, you know it's got to be serious. Brent Bookwalter has to pick and choose his battles today, and he has chosen to go with this breakaway, so this one's going to have some legs.
He must really feel good about that split, and sometimes that's what happens. If it really kind of splits in half, almost like it did, then the other half almost never connects again. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, you know, we're talking a lot about the action on the front of this race, but at this point, there's going to be a lot of action going off the back as well. These guys are just trying to make this race, I think, as hard as possible. It's not so much about getting a breakaway started, but it's about picking up the overall speed of this race, hoping that will sort of thin the group out a little bit, that riders won't be able to hang with the speed, and that'll get it down to a clearer selection of who the strongest riders in this race are. So right now, 3 riders away: Butler, Bookwalter, and Berry, the 3 Bs up the road in the break. And it looks like they're going to roll this one as they make their way back over the Tennessee River, back into downtown. Let's go back and take a look at how this break formed. So this is Josh Berry, the first one to go away. And then you see behind him, Chris Butler saw that move go immediately, and Butler jumped out of the field when he realized that Berry was going to have a good go at it. And then I think Brent Bookwalter saw the move of the Caja Rural jersey. He saw another Euro pro going up the road and said, hey, if Caja Rural is going, we should probably be there as well. So then Bookwalter was the 3rd rider to jump away. I'm a little surprised more riders didn't try to go with this one. When you see 2 of the big-time European professionals going across the gap, I would certainly be considering this breakaway if I was sitting in that field.
Yeah, they're back there, they're just gambling. I mean, that's just what they're sitting there doing. You're just gambling, like rolling the dice. Okay, we don't think this is gonna, really stand the test of time all the way to the finish line. But again, you know, sometimes when you hesitate, you pay the price at the end, like we saw in the women's race and in many, many national championships.
All right, back to live pictures on the front as we keep an eye on the front of this one, trying to see if they're going to bring the breakaway back. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you more action from the USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships. Stick around. Stars and Stripes jersey on the line as one of these riders will be crowned the national champion today in Knoxville, Tennessee for our USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships. A lot of action coming off the front here as the attacks got started early. Right now we're watching Josh Berry in the white jersey of the Jelly Belly Pro Cycling team trying to get something started. He took a few riders with him earlier, but now it looks like there's so much interest in this breakaway. Everyone's coming up to join Berry.
Yeah, I think they all recognize who's in it, and then that's when the ears go up and you say, uh-oh, that's a danger rider, so we're gonna have to connect the dots if we don't want that to go off the front.
All right, the field is coming back through the start-finish area as, again, we are doing laps here in Knoxville. 14 laps of the 7.9-mile course for these guys today as they arrive to the roaring crowd waiting them here on the line. Fast race already early on with 11 laps to go. They got a lot of racing ahead of them. And we can already tell this is going to be a really tough race today.
It's already filtered down from the 147 riders that started. You can already see it thinning down, and they're just, you know, 53 minutes in.
Yeah, probably not going to be more than 30, maybe 40 riders in the front group by the time they come to the line. Actually had 102 starters on the line, so this will be less than half of the riders, I think, surviving all the way to the finish today, as this is just going to be brutal. There's going to be so much fast racing going on at the front. A lot of riders are just going to be struggling to hold on to the front of this bike race today. So now two more riders trying to get, well, make that three, trying to get something started off the front. One rider hiding in the slipstream here. Gotzi, we're going to talk a lot today about working together and the importance of these riders to work together, even if they're not teammates. It really all comes down to drafting in a situation like this, and this is going to be incredibly important throughout the day. In a group of three like this, the rider on the front, the Jelly Belly rider here, is doing about 30% more work than the other riders on a flat section of road because he has to punch through the wind. The other riders can sit behind him in the slipstream, and ideally everyone needs to be taking turns at the front. So that's what he's looking for right now. You see him looking around and sort of swinging off to the side. He's trying to get this other rider to come through, and I believe that's Brad Huff, the rally rider in the orange jersey, trying to make it up. The Criterium National Champion. That's a form of racing around a short circuit, usually roughly around 1 mile. You see he has a special red, white, and blue bike. He doesn't get to wear the Stars and Stripes jersey in this race because this is the Road National Championship, but Brad Huff, the Criterium National Champion.
And Brad never shows up to the start line unless he is ready to win. I know him from the track, and I know that he has spent the entire winter in Tucson training in the mountains and training hard. And when he shows up, he is fully fit and ready to win. So he is definitely somebody to watch out for. Most people didn't really talk about prior to the race, but I just never see him go to the start line unless he is full guns blazing. All
right, Brad Huff, Ian Garrison, and Sean Bennett off the front in the breakaway. As we keep an eye on them, let's go down to WATE's Trent McGill on course.
Hey, Brad, this is awesome. So in Knoxville down here, we're seeing everybody, people in biker gear, people in regular street gear, and I want to talk about my buddy Matt here. This guy is decked out in all the biker gear. He's got the glasses, he's got the hat under the helmet, so you clearly ride, right?
It's all about the look. No.
all about the look. So tell me a little bit about these guys compared to your skill level. Where are these guys at? Because you ride and you can respect this.
They're on a whole nother level. It's really amazing.
But anybody out here can ride, right? You don't have to be a pro.
This is world-class climbing here in Knoxville with the Smoky Mountains and stuff, but with these guys, it's special to watch.
Nice. So are you down here by yourself or just the whole riding crew?
Yeah, I'm hosting KHS Elevate. We're kind of ambassadors for them. I'm here with some friends that drove down, but guess. So
nice, good stuff. Well, thanks for coming out, man. All right, it's not just the biker crew or the biker community. Look at everybody down here, down the strip here. We can see everybody down there in the sun. We're under the bridge here in the shade, but the sun has come out. The roads are drying out. The humidity, thanks to last week, super humid. It's not here this week anymore. So come on down here. There's refreshments. There's TV screens. You're going to be able to see everything down here. Brad, this place is awesome. We'll be here all afternoon, and then the awards for the men's are coming up after the race. So make sure you get down here. We've got a lot of time and a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Trent. I'm a little envious. Trent gets to get down on course with all the fans. We're stuck here in the booth calling the action. But I guess someone's got to do the hard work, right?
Yep, here we are.
All right, well, meanwhile, just saw a few riders rolling away off the front as they made their way up onto that climb. So, again, 3 riders still away. We just saw the back end of Brad Huff having a little trouble holding on there, so we'll go back and take a look at them here in just a bit. Meanwhile, a couple guys still driving up here. Looks like more riders coming up. I see a new jersey here. That's the blue jersey of United Healthcare on this Sherrod Road climb. And it looks like he's going to go right by these guys. So this rider has now come up out of the field, which is the large group on the road. He has now caught the breakaway, and he's going to go to the front and start doing some work on the climb here.
Something else that's really in play on a day like this, when it's really an all-arounder course and very technical, is the ability to sniff out a move that's going to make it, right? And really that just comes with a lot of experience. It's hard to do, but it's something that is at play, and it kind of combines a lot of experience and then just a lot of awareness, right? Really being aware of who's around you, what's happening, what's in front, what's behind, where your teammates are, big guns in the race, and just making that decisive move right at the right time.
Well, speaking of decisive moves, how about Daniel Eaton on the front in the blue jersey for the United Healthcare Pro Cycling Team? So Eaton came up and over the top of this breakaway. They have dropped Brad Huff out of the group, so Huff no longer in this breakaway. And now you see the riders making their way to the top of that big climb, just about 2 miles into the lap. It does go down just a little bit, then kicks up one more time before they start this, the steep, narrow descent on the way down.
Eaton was one of the riders in that final breakaway last year, and I think it was 5 that just got caught off that final ascent. Greg Daniels attacked and everyone kind of sat up. So, you know, he's extra hungry because he just got caught out last year.
So Greg Daniel was riding for a team last year, as what they called Action Hagens Berman. It's a development team run by a rider named Axel Merckx. He's the son of arguably one of the greatest cyclists of all time, Eddie Merckx, and his real role is to develop young riders and get them onto professional teams. No better example of that than Greg Daniel. Starting with that Action team, really found his legs underneath him and won a national championship. That earned him a ride with a pro team called Trek Segafredo, which is one of the biggest teams in the world. So what goes to show you, a Stars and Stripes jersey can majorly affect your career.
Yeah, and Greggy Daniel, I mean, if that wasn't a tough enough story, he's racing with a broken collarbone. He crashed recently on the same side where he's broken the collarbone before, and it has a titanium plate in there, so the old titanium plate is holding it together.
Wow.
But I saw him in the elevator this morning. He said, you know, I'm feeling good. It's really more in the head where you just feel a little nervous about going for it, but that his body feels good. But he will have surgery a little bit later in the season. So, you know, I don't know. It didn't really get much tougher than that.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Greg Daniel. The guys coming off of the climb right now, they're making their way back on to James White Parkway. It's going to be the bottom right-hand section of the screen right here. You can see the Sherrod Road climb where they go up after coming off of Ashley Street and then onto Mimosa Avenue. They then come down. There's sort of a loop around on Cottrell Street. That's sort of the frontage road along the freeway. Then they jump back onto that parkway, which takes them across the river. So that's where they are right now, making their way across. As we go back to the field, this is the main group on the road. Look at these guys chasing at the back. This is such a tough place to be. It's really about making sure you're not caught on the wrong side of a split, that a gap doesn't open in front of you, because then you have to chase around that gap like this Illuminate rider is doing in the all-black kit right here as he's trying to move up. He's trying to get into a safe position. That's Colin Easter wearing number 61 for Team Illuminate.
Yeah, it's really hard to get off the front from the back.
Yeah.
So you got to be a little bit more heads up. But I think that they're just taking a moment. You can see that they're hydrating and fueling themselves back there, and that's the place to do it.
Well, there goes Alex Howes in the green jersey. That is going to be another big name to watch today. The only rider from his Cannondale Drapac team racing here at the National Championships. Howes was second last year, and he was thoroughly disappointed in that result. He was banging his handlebars on the finish line, clearly disappointed on the podium. It was a really rough race for Alex Howes last year. He really wanted to wear that Stars and Stripes jersey, and this year he's got that hunger in his belly, a little bit of fire for Alex Howes. All right, so through the feed zone right now, we're making their way in. Dotsie, as a pro racer on a day like today where your focus is almost solely on the race, sometimes it's hard to remember to eat and drink. Your team is constantly reminding you, trying to force you to have bottles on you, but you also have to eat. When you're going this hard, it's 80 degrees outside, you're sweating. Sometimes eating is the last thing you want to do, but you have to force yourself to get those calories in, because their bodies are burning through so much glycogen and so many calories that they have to replace that. Otherwise, they're going to bonk.
Yeah, I mean, you start fueled up, but you know, if you think about it, these guys are literally going through or burning the energy of between 5,000 and 6,000 calories in this race today, in this mileage, in this 109 miles. So there's probably no way that you can get that back in, right? Like, you're not going to be able to replenish 5,000 calories. You don't want your body to be spending so much time on the digestion either, you know? You want the energy to all be coming from your muscles. But so that is why it's important to eat a little bit at a time. So I think you guys have already seen where these riders are taking something out of their pocket almost every 10 or 15 minutes, and that's how you do it. It's little bit at a time. But you got to at least get back in a couple thousand calories if you're going to burn 5,000.
Pretty amazing what these guys eat and what they drink on just a regular day of training or a regular day of racing. As Hollow Esco Citadel goes to the front to take a look, we are just over an hour into our professional men's road race. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll see if anyone can get away here in Knoxville. Stick around. More racing coming up after this. Back on the front of the race, just over an hour in, we saw Brad Huff coming out of the breakaway, the Criterium National Champion for the Rally Pro Cycling Team in the orange jersey. Looks like just getting absorbed here, so he sits in the gap right now, but the field charging hard behind him, so he's going to have some company up here with a lot of riders trying to get a piece of this action. Meanwhile, that small group just dangling off the front, looks like the field going to have something to say about that. Dotsie, the field strung out single file here. When you see the riders front to back, one behind the other, that tells us they are really hitting the gas hard on the front.
They are, and if there's any crosswind at all, they're trying to protect themselves from that. We haven't seen the flags move too much, but they are picking up from what they were earlier today. So I think they are probably feeling some crosswind out there on those big, open, freeway type roads. So how to do that is, if the wind's coming from the left, then you come over to the right and let the person that's on your left shield you from the wind. So that's why you're kind of seeing that. It's hard to see in this picture, but that's what each one of those riders are doing. It's just every moment of the entire day trying to save yourself a little bit of energy.
Well, that is exactly what's happening here as they've just come off of the James White Parkway. They're going to be making their way back through the finish line here in just a bit. But you're right, those wide open sections, which is really the right-hand side of that map that you're just seeing. Boy, what a beautiful shot with downtown Knoxville in the background as they make their way back over the Tennessee River. This is a great course and a great venue for a men's pro road race. You are looking at your three leaders on the road: Daniel Eaton, Ian Garrison, and Sean Bennett. Three very strong young talents in this race. Eaton riding for the United Healthcare Pro Cycling Team, and Garrison and Bennett riding for Jelly Belly Pro Cycling and Action Hagens Berman. So that's Ian Garrison, the Action Hagens Berman rider, sitting at the back wearing number 57. And again, these guys sitting in the draft. They're going to let Daniel Eaton do the work on the front right now. You'll see Eaton pull off to the side, and then should see Bennett move forward. So there you go. Eaton moves off, and it's the next guy's turn. Eaton go to the back and wait for his turn again. Looks like everyone is working in this breakaway. Dotsie, talk about the dynamics here. Sometimes you have riders that want to work, and sometimes not so much.
You do, but all three of these guys look very committed to what's happening here right now. I think that they're content with each other and content with the strength that they know each one has. So we're just seeing them kind of fluidly work together. You stand up there in the back when you're in the draft. That's the time to kind of like release your muscles, let your legs kind of move over fluidly. But staying in that draft is so important so that you can do, like you've said, that 30% less work.
2 kilometers back to the line. These guys have 35 seconds over the front of the peloton right now. Let's say a decent gap. It's good, but not great. They're going to need a significant chunk of time if this breakaway has any shot of staying away for the rest of this race. So 35 seconds right now. I think the field is just, we call it feathering this gap. They don't want to make the catch just yet. There's no reason for them to really chase hard to make the catch. If they think the catch is inevitable, they sort of call the bluff of this breakaway and say, look, you guys are going to come back anyway. There's no reason for us to chase. So I think that's probably what's happening in the field right now.
Yeah, they're just keeping them at a very comfortable gap, because what happens if they do catch? It's a flurry of attacks again, and these guys are already, you know, feeling it a little bit, because it was one of the most active national championships I've ever seen in that first 30 minutes. So they're feeling it in the legs. If they can just kind of let this go at 30 seconds, it's really not going to be a threat, and they get to have just a bit more of a relaxed day, at least for a lap or two back in the pack.
Well, they're saying that gap is going up. Race Radio reporting that at 55 seconds now, so just under 1 minute for these guys back to the nearest chaser, which will be 4th position on the road. These are your 3 leaders. Daniel Eaton in the blue jersey for United Healthcare, number 57. Moving up to the front right now for the Action Hagens-Berman team. Boy, Ian Garrison is a lean-looking dude, isn't he?
Yes, he looks pretty fierce. They're all looking pretty fit in that breakaway.
For sure. And then Sean Bennett, the Jelly Belly rider, looking fit as well as he moves up in the colorful Jelly Belly kit, one of the longest running sponsors in professional cycling. What a great team that is. Always a fan favorite because, well, they've got jelly beans, at least for the kids.
Yeah, for sure, and they're really popular within the cycling circuit because they are, I think, in the men's peloton domestically, the longest running sponsor. I mean, I know they've been sponsoring teams for at least 12 years, and unfortunately that's a bit unheard of. Yeah. Yeah, everybody has a lot of respect for Jelly Belly and their jelly beans.
There's another team like that in the women's race. We saw Abigail Mickey from the Colavita Bianchi team. Colavita is another company that has really been involved in cycling for a really long time. So Daniel Eaton right now is eating what's called an energy gel. I'm sure you've seen these on the shelves of your local supermarket or sports store. Basically sugar, caffeine, few calories. Talk about what they're putting into their bodies and why they need it here, Dotsie.
Yes, so the gels are about 100 calories, mostly glycogen. You can get gels with caffeine. It's my guess that they're not probably taking caffeine in quite yet. I think that they'll wait till the last about hour and a half to begin taking some caffeine in, or they could easily crash. We all know what that feels like coming off the caffeine. Yeah. So mostly glycogen, mostly sugar, fueling them along. Once you start liquid glycogen, though, you have to keep it going. So once they start taking in gels, they'll very consistently take them in about every 20 minutes.
Eat before you're hungry, drink before you're thirsty. That's the name of the game out there today. Now, when these guys grab bottles from the feed zone, which we talked about earlier, a lot of times they'll grab a bottle with a gel taped to the bottle because they're going through so many of these, they need to refresh. They'll start the race with a lot of food in the back pocket. They'll have usually a couple bars, maybe a piece of fruit. Some runners have specialized food that they make, like the rice cakes have been coming on really strong lately, sort of customized food for the riders depending on what they prefer. Sometimes it's something as simple as a banana or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Whatever you'll eat, usually your team director is like, hey, if it's got calories and you're willing to eat it, go ahead.
Yeah, you get really tired of the packaged foods and the really high sugar foods. So a lot of these riders, like you said, are moving just towards real food. Yeah. So they'll do like a rice cake with almond butter inside of it, right? So some carbohydrates and a little bit of fat, which satiates you, and it feels good to the gut because you just get tired. You can get what's called sugar gut, right? And then that can start some cramping, which we do not want to see happen for any of these riders. So real food is really turning into being more of what people are putting in their pockets than just the bars or just the gels.
I just saw Holoesco Citadel all over the front of the field in the black kits with neon yellow helmets. Now they're on the front because they're one of the major teams. They're one of the favorites in this race, and they don't have a rider in this breakaway. So the responsibility to chase this breakaway down sort of falls to them because they have the most to lose. Typically in a multi-day stage race, it would be whoever's leading the overall of the race, but because this is just a one-day race, there's really no clear-cut responsibility. But it looks like Holoesco Citadel is happy to take up that job on the front of the field to try to bring these 3 riders back, led right now by Daniel Eaton. All right, so as these 3 guys working together, let's go down to Emily Proud on course.
Hey guys, so we showed you a little bit earlier the women's winners on the podium. They had their Sierra Nevada beer. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be a national champion to enjoy some of that beer. I'm here inside the Sierra Nevada tent actually, and it's pretty cool. You can come over here and see actually how your beer is made. They have all the ingredients and kind of start to finish when you get your beer. But if you're just more concerned with enjoying a nice brew, you can come over here. You pay $5, show your ID, obviously, and then you'll get actually a little wristband, which will open you up to some of the beer over here. You see it on tap. This is actually a pretty cool truck right here. It has taps inside the truck. I gotta get me one of these, but you get all these options for some delicious Sierra Nevada beer. Again, I'm here inside the expo. Come join us here. Guys, back to you.
Well, I hope there's some Sierra Nevada left for me at the end of the race today. Meanwhile, back to the front of the peloton, this is Holoesco Citadel that I was talking about before. All hands on deck on the front for these guys. One of the most dangerous things about this team, or what makes this team such a threat, is that every single one of these guys can win this race today. It's sort of like trying to figure out which card you're going to play. Well, they've got all aces in the deck for Holoesco Citadel.
Yeah, there really aren't any domestiques
Yeah,
on this
exactly.
team. I mean, they're just all like fireballs. So, but yeah, this is unfortunate for them because they didn't really want to get stuck this early on chasing. So this is not great news for their team.
One of the big favorites for the Holoesco Citadel team today is going to be Robin Carpenter. He wears number 43 out of San Diego, California. Carpenter is one of the best all-around riders in the country right now, but they've also got some really good sprinters. A former Criterium National Champion, John Murphy, wearing number 4. Ty Magner has been on fire this year on the Criterium scene, which are those short circuit races. Magner is wearing number 46. They've also got TJ Eisenhardt out of Lehigh, Utah, one of the best GC riders out there. Boy, Oscar Clark, if he gets into a breakaway, wearing number 44, you better watch out. Then Miguel Bryan and Mac Brennan. Bryan wearing 42, Brennan wearing number 41. This Holoesco Citadel team is stacked and without a doubt one of the top teams in the race.
Yeah, there's so many breakaway riders. I mean, we were talking about that at the beginning. Like, it's just so stacked with riders that are really, really talented and gifted in a breakaway. 9th in the TT yesterday was Jeffrey Curran, and he's from around where I am from. And my husband has been training with him a little bit and said he is en fuego, on fire right now. And that I was able to put the gold medal around his neck for the U23 National TT Championship and Road Championship. He doubled up in 1 year, and now he's racing with the big guns and showing very well. That's legit to get 9th in that TT yesterday. And he loves to race off the front, so I think that we're going to see some of him later too.
Well, the training clearly paying off as he's going to be moving to the front here very shortly. Holoesco Citadel's got things under control right now. We're going to step back for another short break. When we come back, we'll see if anyone can come over the top of Holoesco Citadel. You're watching the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Back with more after this. All right, well, finally found someone to challenge Holoesco Citadel on the climb as Canyon Bicycles has sent one of their riders off the front here as he takes a look back. Nothing but daylight going up and over the top. And now we go back to the leaders on the front of the peloton trying to figure out what to do about this solo rider away. So this is Action Hagens Berman on the front. That'll be Jelly Belly sitting second position. And then United Healthcare sitting third. That is Daniel Eaton wearing number 12. This breakaway working well together as they go back through the feed zone. We'll see if these guys grab, so that is what's called a musette bag. The Jelly Belly rider right there grabbing a bag. That's going to have probably a bottle and some food in there. Dotsie, here they can choose what they want. It's really about personal preference. As we said before, whatever you'll eat, whatever you'll drink, grab it and then get rid of the rest.
Yeah, and so they need so many calories that you have to put it in a bag. It can't just be a bottle or just a gel. So they have a kind of a variety or a smattering of options in there.
The thing that the rider just put down the back of his jersey is what's called an ice sock. It's basically pantyhose with crushed ice in there. They take stockings and sort of tie off the end with crushed ice. That evaporative cooling really helps keep your core temperature low, which majorly affects your performance. It affects sort of the high end of your performance, and this is something that we've really seen come on over the last few years. The Americans started going over to Europe and putting these ice socks down the back. They were wearing ice vests at the start, and for a while the Europeans were like, you guys are crazy, what are you doing? But now it's sort of become commonplace in professional road racing.
Right, because if your engine is running too hot, you use more energy than if it's running cool. So that is one of the quickest ways to cool you down, is to put that right on your neck or right on your lower back, right? So right down your spine, where then it can, you know, assimilate the cooling into the rest of your body and your extremities.
Yeah, so that water will sort of drip down the back, as you said, onto the lower back as well. Get some cool water down there. We're also going to see these guys later in the day. They'll just dump bottles over their head. They'll take bottles from the feed zone, not to drink, but just to cool off, to dump on their head and backs. Saw that rider stretching out his lower back there as well. These bikes are not designed for comfort at all. They're designed to go as fast as possible, and sometimes that can take a toll on your body. It's really about getting as low as possible. You see Daniel Eaton right here. He's going to the front, so he rests his forearms on the top of the bars. Take a look at the handlebars right here for Eaton. Again, he's just trying to minimize his frontal profile because he's doing that extra work on the front. He wants to try and cut down on as much drag as he can. So it's sort of a pseudo time trial position, if you will. He's trying to make the best of what he can with the equipment available.
You know what else is not designed for comfort? The teeny tiny saddles they're sitting on. They are something you have to get used to, we'll just say. Yeah, these guys are full-on pros, and they're used to all of this. But you're right, the bicycles, although they have gotten a lot more comfortable over the years, you really still don't have any shock absorption in these road bikes.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think that these guys are only an hour and 20 minutes into the race. It's going to be at least 3 hours from now before we have a finish on the line here in Knoxville. So still a lot of racing to go here in the men's pro race. Again, they are doing a little over 109 miles of total racing here today. That's 14 laps of the 7.9 mile circuit with 717 feet of elevation gain per lap. These guys trying to work together here, doing a fine job of it. So they are just now coming again back onto James White Parkway. They're going to work their way across that river here next. We'll see them on the bridge as the peloton tries to chase them down. And again, Dotsie, this is really the worst section of the course for the breakaway. The breakaway is going to prefer that narrow section. It favors a larger group when you're on a wide open section like this, because they can bring more riders to the front. They can all sort of spread out, and teams like Holowesko Citadel can get all their riders on the front of the group.
Yeah, and you just have more speed with the momentum of the volume in the peloton, right? So they're going to move faster at wide open roads like this. We're down a twisty descent. The three of those guys, well, they really all are going to have their own choices on where they want to take their line.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get a big pack like this, you're kind of taking the line of the guy in front of you, and if you don't like it, then that tends to slow it down a little bit. Maybe you touch your brakes, the guy behind you. So a lot of times, almost all the time, three athletes can go down a twisty descent faster than 70.
A lot of riders using this opportunity to move up, maybe coming back from the team cars. Behind this race, almost every team will have a team car behind them. Inside the car, they're going to have spare bikes. They're going to have spare wheels. There's a mechanic that rides in the back seat, and the driver of a car is a director, sort of like the coach out on course. So I think sending some riders to the front, just telling them to keep an eye on things as things start to heat up in the bike race. We are 1 hour and 25 minutes into our men's pro race. Still a lot of racing to come. We're going to take a short break live from Knoxville, Tennessee, and we'll be back with more racing at the USA Cycling Professional Road National Champion. Welcome back to Knoxville, Tennessee. Just before we went to break, we were talking about the team cars, and now United Healthcare has sent their car forward into the breakaway to service Daniel Eaton, the United Healthcare rider out of Boulder, Colorado, having a chat with his team director. That's Henrik Redant riding in the driver's seat here. He's really giving Eaton the strategy. He's laying out the strategy for the day. He's also going to be feeding Eaton with food and bottles during the day, and then you see the spare bikes on top. So if he has any mechanical problems, Daniel Eaton will have his team there to give him a spare bike or spare wheels should he need it. A flat tire, probably the most common mechanical issue that riders will face in a race like this. Once the gap goes over 1 minute, so these are the 3 leaders on course, and they have at least a 1 minute gap back to this, the front of the field. Once that gap goes over a minute, the commissars, the officials in the race, will allow the team cars that have riders in the breakaway to go up into the gap. So right now, those cars are sitting in between these, the front of the group, and those 3 breakaway riders. But Holowesko Citadel is really going full gas here. They do not like the looks of whatever's going on up the road. Thomas Craven, the team director for that squad, has obviously told these guys, hey, we need to get our act together. We need to make sure that this break doesn't go too far up the road. So as those guys try to pull back, we are being joined in the booth by our newly crowned U.S. Professional Road National Champion, Amber Neiman, in the Stars and Stripes jersey, her second jersey of the weekend. Amber, talk about how special this weekend has been for you. It doesn't get much better than back-to-back national championships.
Super special. I still can't believe it. It's beyond words. I'm so excited and just really looking forward to letting it soak in overnight and the next week.
Amber, 2017 has probably been one of the best years of your career. The current World Time Trial Champion. You also picked up the Time Trial National Championship yesterday and then the Road Championship today. Let's start with yesterday. Starting in the rainbow jersey had to be special at your national championships, but slipping that Stars and Stripes jersey over the World Champions jersey doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it was, again, another special moment. Wearing the rainbows is always... You can't put that into words either. It's such an honor. Winning, obviously there's expectations and pressure that comes with wearing the rainbows, so to be able to win in them makes it that much better.
You didn't race a whole lot this year. Obviously this race has been a big target for you. Talk about your prep for the national championships coming to Knoxville this weekend.
Yeah, one of the things about being 42 and racing as long as I have, you know, I didn't want to race very much this year, and so we spent a lot of work in the winter, taking 2 months off, and then the preparation coming in was really targeted towards both of these events. Really the time trial is the first, but we incorporated some new stuff to break some training stagnation. There's a lot of intensity, a lot of VO2 work the last month, so my coach likes to say he needs to hit me with a hammer in order to get a response, and I was just glad I survived.
Hit you with a hammer, he did.
Yeah, and I think he's going to do it again before Worlds.
So let's talk about the road race coming up here, shifting from the time trial yesterday to the road race today. Was the climb as important as we thought it was going to be? We knew it was going to be a major factor in the race. We said that was where the race was really going to play out. You dropped your breakaway companion here. It really seemed like that was the turning point for you in this race.
Yeah, honestly, the climb wasn't as hard as I think it looked like. It was only going to be a 2-minute climb, so it really was an anaerobic capacity, sprinter, climber type effort. For me, there was no way I was going to attack on it. So I was looking for moments elsewhere, to be honest with you. When it got to that point in the race where I was with her, I knew I had to get rid of her there. But yeah, that was just really just being steady and on the gas.
Amber, when I think about your career, I really think about the word overcoming. You've overcome so many challenges and so many obstacles. People don't really know the depth of it. Some really bad crashes. Did that come into play today? Do you think about that? Does it drive you? Does it motivate you?
Yes and no. Obviously, when you're in the moment, you know, you don't think about any of that. But for sure, I had nothing to lose out there. And my strength from the Lord, as far as, you know, being able to overcome all the obstacles, you know, he's with me today, and I was just relying on that strength the same way I would rely on him to get over the crashing obstacles or the melanoma or whatever it was I've come through.
It's got to be a special win to slip on the Stars and Stripes jersey. I'm sure you had a flood of emotions on the podium. Tell me what that was like, your feelings. You know, it doesn't really sink in until a while. You've now had a couple hours to sort of realize what you've pulled off. I hope that it's at least settled in a little bit. I'm sure it won't hit for the next few days until you really realize what you've achieved here this weekend.
Yeah, I just, every time I think about it, it's just that amazing sense of like, oh my God, thank you. I can't believe it. You know, I really didn't have any expectations coming into today. I knew I had really good form and I had good legs and I was strong, but the national championships is always such a weird race. So for me, I just, you know, I wanted to have fun. I wanted to look for a place to play and take a risk, and it worked out in a really incredible way, and the timing was perfect, and it just fit me and what I could do.
Hey, Amber, we're hearing the crowd as the men's peloton rolls through. Talk about the roar that you hear coming through the line here in Knoxville. It is awesome having this crowd out here, isn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. In fact, I soaked it in. You know, each time I came through alone, I don't know how many more times I'm going to get to hear that. Yeah. So it was really cool to hear them banging on the boards, just to try to absorb that energy and turn it into forward momentum.
2 Stars and Stripes jerseys this weekend. Do you get a break? What's next for you on the schedule?
Yeah, I get a 7 to 10 day break, so I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, some really good rest, hard rest. I've been working so hard and driving the CTL high, and just gotta get some recovery in me so we can do it again. After that, looks like I'll race the course and then the team time trial in Vargarda before the World Championships.
Right on. Looking forward to it. Can't think of a better person to be flying the Stars and Stripes over in Europe than our new Pro Road National Champion, Amber Neben. Amber, congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to let Amber go. Maybe get to Sierra Nevada, take a little break, kick the legs up, as she certainly earned it this weekend. So as we keep our eye on the front of the men's field, they just went through, heading out for another lap. We're going to step back for another short break. We'll be back right after this from the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Hallowesco Citadel all over the front of the peloton right now as they try to overcome a 1 minute and 40-second gap up to 3 leaders up the road from this group right now as they head out with 9 laps to go here at the USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships, trying to determine who will wear the Stars and Stripes jersey in 2018. Hallowesco Citadel hoping it will be one of their riders, but first they've got to catch the 3, a minute 45 up the road.
Yeah, that gap has really ballooned. So, yeah, Hallowesco is under a lot of pressure. And we just heard Amber mention quickly before she left that she has really been pressing her CTL really hard. Not everyone knows what that is, but that stands for chronic training load. Exactly what these guys have been doing coming into this race is pressuring the load, the training load, day after day after day so that you can handle the rigors of the pressure that they're under today. There's also ATL, which is acute training load, which is specificity, right? That's intense short intervals that you'll do inside one interval training session that'll help to get you up this climb snappy and explosively. So training has definitely gotten a lot more advanced than it used to be, and riders track all these kinds of loads to be able to press to a peak, which is what everyone is hoping to do today.
Yeah, in this sport you really can't train too much. You don't want to be training at 100% all the time because you're going to wear your body out. As you said, you really only get maybe a couple, maybe 3 peaks per season. We call it your form. It's sort of this elusive thing that you're chasing all year round, and it's about trying to get your body in top form. You really only get it for maybe a few weeks at a time, and then you start to have this little dip in your performance. So it's about timing that training just right, timing your training to focus on the key races. And as you said, for a lot of riders, that key race is the US Pro Road National Championships.
I just got butterflies in my stomach watching those 3 guys. I don't know if you saw them dip over that top. I mean, the motorcycle had a hard time staying with them when they first did that drop. They are absolutely flying right now.
Yeah, all the credit in the world to our moto drivers out there. The TV Moto International guys doing a great job keeping up with the action out there on course, as these are your 3 leaders that we're following on the way down off of the Sherrod Road climb. Look at the fans lining the bridge here. Man, they have really turned out in force to support the national championships here in Knoxville. The speed at which these guys take the corners is always impressive. They will not touch the brakes once when they're making their way through the corners. In a small group like this where you can sort of pick your own line, it really is amazing how much they push these bikes. They really push the grip of those tires right to the limit.
Yeah, because what happens in a turn when you touch your brakes, even ever so slightly, it pulls and it straightens out your wheel. So it's very dangerous to touch your brakes when you're actually in a turn. If you need to scrub some speed, if you're feeling like, I'm not quite comfortable taking this turn at this speed, you've got to scrub the speed before you head into the turn.
Yeah, it's about setting it up. It's about preparing there. These guys cruising right around 30 miles an hour right now, as they make their way onto a little uphill section here to scrub a little bit of that speed off. Boy, going 30 miles an hour is tough. Doing it for 4.5 hours is even tougher. Go out and try and ride your bike tonight at 30 miles an hour, and then imagine trying to do that with a few hills thrown in there and doing that for pretty much a full day. Really gives you a great appreciation for what these riders are going through. Minute 40 on the gap. Daniel Eaton has grabbed a United Healthcare Musette bag, so he's going to grab a little lunch here as he goes through the feed zone. And an ice sock as well to put down the back of the jersey, trying to stay cool on this hot day.
That looked like that one was just all about the ice sock, right? He didn't pull any food out of that. He has enough in his pockets right now to sustain him probably for at least another full lap.
Yeah, really important to eat, really important to drink, really important to stay comfortable. Speaking of eating and drinking, let's go down to Trent McGill, our WATE reporter down on course.
On the course and all the stuff you can do down here. I've got myself some nachos, and if you know anything about Knoxville, you know our food trucks and our food, everything is on top notch. I hear the kids say it's on fleek. So here we go. We've got some barbecue nachos down here, and that's just a little bit left over. Sorry about that. I was supposed to save these for the little live show here, but I got a little hungry. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff down here. Everybody wave and say hi. All right, so we're having a blast. We've got a band back there. We've got food trucks along the backside. We've got TV screens everywhere. When you see this group go by, it's incredible, the atmosphere. Everybody lines up along this fence here, beating on the walls, beating on the boards, and we just have an absolute blast. So make sure you head on down here. We're here, we've been going on for an hour and 41, almost an hour and 42 minutes, so we've still got a lot of time left. You've still got time to get down here. And I can guarantee you this weather will stay just as nice. I don't know if that has any bit of an influence on the riders, how bright and how hot and how humid it is, but it's bright and it's hot. It's just not that humid. Brad, you might be able to talk a little more about the hydration level with these riders.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Trent. Going to be really important for these guys to stay hydrated as they go through the feed zone right here. You saw the staff off the left-hand side of the picture handing those bottles off. Dotsy, these riders probably going through 1, 2, 3 bottles per hour. How often do you need to be drinking on a day like today?
Well, a lot, but it depends on if what you're taking in. Water, yes, but you need to make sure that you're also getting in electrolytes, right? So that's what helps with the electricity that runs through our body so that everything connects. If you drink too much water, then you can flush out the ever so important electrolytes. So they're balancing some water with their electrolytes, probably taking in at least 2 bottles a lap. And you know, people are individuals, right? So some of them are more camels and some of them need a lot more. So, you know, some are maybe taking in 1 bottle and that's okay for their physiology, whereas others are needing at least 3 bottles of electrolytes per lap.
All right, so the battle continues to stay fed and stay hydrated on a very tough day of racing here at the USA Cycling Professional Road National Championships. We're going to step back, and when we come back, we'll keep our eye on the front of the field as Hollow Esco Citadel tries to tack back the breakaway of 3. More after this. Major chase effort being mounted on the front of the peloton as Holowesko Citadel takes up the responsibility to bring back the 3 leaders that are now 1 minute and 40 seconds up the road from these guys. So Holowesko Citadel leading the peloton here as they try to figure out what to do about the 3 leaders up the road. Dotsie Bausch joining me in the booth. Dotsie, really no reason for these guys to panic just yet. They've got this breakaway right where they want them. As long as this gap doesn't go over, say, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they're going to be happy right now. It's kind of like walking your dog on one of those extend-a leashes. You let them run out a little bit, and then you bring them back. You let them run out, and then you bring them back. But you never let them run too far because you don't want to give up control.
I like that. Yeah, extend a leash. I think that's pretty there's a well way to describe this today. Yeah, but it's kind of sitting at that 140, 145. So I think they probably are fairly content, although not content to be the only team out there chasing, because they are, no matter how easy we think they might be going and that they're holding it at 140 for a reason, they're exhausting themselves.
Well, 3 teams that aren't going to help them: United Healthcare, Jelly Belly, and Action Hagens Berman, because those are the 3 teams of the riders in the breakaway. Your 3 leaders that are 1 minute 40 up the road. They've got teammates in the breaks, and they're not going to do anything to chase those teammates down. The teammates of these guys that you're seeing on your screen right now have to just sit back. They're going to watch Holowesko Citadel burn themselves out on the front. They're saying, hey, this is great. Even if we do catch these 3 guys, they're going to have fresh legs, and Holowesko Citadel maybe going to burn through a few of their riders here.
It's definitely the perfect scenario for riders that are on teams of 1 or 2, like BMC and Trek Segafredo. This is they're sitting pretty.
Well, don't forget, we are on Twitter. You can send us your thoughts and pictures of where you're watching from using hashtag USPro, our official hashtag of the weekend. We'll be monitoring that here in the booth. I always love to see where folks are watching the races. We are live on WATE, our ABC affiliate here in Eastern Tennessee, but we're also streaming all over the world. So folks tuning in from all over the globe to see the beauty that Knoxville, Tennessee has to offer here for our US Pro Road Race. So send those pictures in. Let us know who you're watching for, who your picks are. It's always fun to hear what people think about the race. There's the Jelly Belly team car. Danny Van Hout, team director, coming up to have a chat with his rider. Get him some water and maybe some sport beans, those Jelly Bellies that they'll feed the riders. It's sort of an athlete-specific jelly bean with a little bit different formula for the pro riders here.
Yeah, a little bit of electrolytes in those sport beans, but there's the good old-fashioned Jelly Belly jelly beans work just fine too. Had many packages of those over the years, and they will catapult you into a good place on the finish line.
Well, giving some fresh bottles here to Sean Bennett, wearing number 61. Sometimes people are surprised to see that these riders are eating candy. A lot of times you'll see jelly beans or Snickers are really popular for a lot of the riders out there, but their bodies and metabolisms are functioning at such a high level at this point that they can pretty much put whatever they want in. It's going to burn through those calories so quickly that it really doesn't matter. It's about getting that sugar in, getting the calories in any way that they can at this point.
Yeah, you need carbohydrates, right, that are easily digestible, because like we said earlier, you don't want your body's energy to be going to digestion. So you're not taking in proteins and fats during a race like this. You pretty much have to stick directly to carbohydrates. Maybe the tiniest bit of fat if you're doing 109 miles, so a little bit of almond butter or peanut butter or something like that for satiation. But for the most part, it is directly simple carbohydrates that they can assimilate quickly, burn through, and will give them the needed energy immediately.
Ian Garrison, the Action Hagens Berman rider, sitting in the middle of this break of 3, sitting on the wheel of Bennett, waiting for his turn to take over and do some work up there. Meanwhile, you see Daniel Eaton doing a really good job of continuously eating and drinking. I think I've seen Eaton eating a little more than his other 2 breakaway companions, and that's something, there's personal preference. Obviously, you have to listen to your body, but that also comes with experience. That's something that you have to train yourself to do. As I said before, eat before you're hungry, drink before you're thirsty. That's really the name of the game, and Daniel Eaton has been doing a really good job of that.
Perfectly said. It does come with experience. It's not easy to remember to eat and drink when you're in a breakaway of 3 off the front at the national championships if you're a little bit newer at this, right? It's like that's not what's on the front of your mind. It's that, this is awesome right now and I want to stay in this position. So comes with experience.
Yeah, sort of like when you're at the office and you get in some meetings and then you get a phone call and then you got to answer some emails, and before you know it, it's 2:30 and you miss lunch and you're like, oh, I forgot to eat. It's sort of like that times 10 for these guys. Their office is a rolling office and it goes about 30 miles an hour.
Yes, except the result is much more devastating than it would be in the office, right?
All right, breakaway coming back through the line to the roar of the crowd here in Knoxville. They are really getting behind this 3-rider breakaway just over 2 hours into the race as they see 8 laps to go on the counter. That's about 62 miles of racing remaining. 62 miles for a normal person is a full day on the bike, and these guys a little under halfway through the race here.
I think we're absolutely hammering through here.
That was definitely a very fast first half of racing when we saw the scramble at the front trying to establish this breakaway. I'm a little surprised that it's such few riders, only 3 guys in this breakaway. I thought it would have been closer to 5 or 6, but you never know what you're going to get in a bike race like this. You got to take what the race gives you, and these guys did a nice job of that.
Yes, and it's, I mean, I think they are aware of that their chances would have been much greater if there were 6 or 7, right? You want to have 14 legs of horsepower if you have 7 guys, or only 6 legs of horsepower, and there's a lot of horsepower that is resting behind the Holowesko team back there in the pack, which is going to prove to be lethal later on.
Well, nice smooth pavement for the riders here, as you can see Daniel Eaton coasting at the back, just getting adjusted. Meanwhile, the peloton making their way back through the line, so we're going to get a more accurate time check of just what the gap is from our 3 leaders back to the front of the field. Holowesko Citadel still controlling on the front here. That has been the story for the last 2 laps on the front of this bike race.
We're talking about Daniel Eaton actually having a lot of experience. Yeah, he does. He's only 23, though.
Yes.
Then he was the 2015 U23 winner of the time trial, USA Cycling National Time Trial Champion. And he was also 10th at the World Championships in 2015 U23. So he has a lot of really impressive results, but still so young. But he started as a junior, so you know he does. He's got 8-9 years of experience already underneath him.
Yeah, he was 6th place at the Road National Championships last year in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Also picked up a 6th place overall at a race called Tour of Alberta, which is a Canadian stage race up north. That is a very, very tough race, some really tough conditions. So Daniel Eaton is a huge talent. We're going to be hearing that name a lot over the next few years. I would not be surprised if Daniel Eaton was the next rider to make a jump to the World Tour level. Well, as they head out on another lap, they're seeing 8 laps to go. Holowesko Citadel continuing to push on the front, trying to bring back those 3. We'll keep an eye on the front and be back with more from the U.S. Pro Road National Championships. Back at the front of the peloton, this is the main group on the road. We've been seeing these neon yellow helmets of Holowesko Citadel lining up the front of this one for about the last hour of racing here as we approach 2 hours in. What they're doing right now is trying to keep the gap under control to the 3 leaders up the road. And they're doing a fine job of it as that gap has been holding right around a minute 40, a minute 45. Almost every time check that we've gotten has been consistent right around that range. So at this point, we know their sort of comfort zone for how far they're willing to let that breakaway go. Right now, this team is doing what's called feathering the gap. They're just letting those 3 guys dangle out there. They're going to let those 3 riders burn themselves out. They're going to try and let them sort of run out of energy. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. They don't want fresh riders out in front, so they're just letting those 3 guys do what they want to do, just as long as that gap stays under 2 minutes. I think this Holowesko Citadel team is going to be happy with letting them just dangle. As we keep an eye on that, let's go back and take a look at how this race played out in 2016, because this course is very similar to what we saw in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, our host last year, as we had a huge field with, again, a lot of talent taking off from the line. All the big names wanting to wear the Stars and Stripes jerseys, and they got things started early. Just like we saw early in this race, the big teams, Rally went, Jelly Belly went, Action Hagens Berman went as well, and that formed the early breakaway coming on to the big short climb on this course.
Yeah, and we see in that break it was Eaton, Huffman, Daniels, a couple other guys heading into that last kind of climb, that last kind of stretch. It was really all out to the top of that, right, before the drop into the finish.
Yeah, that was Brad Huff that we just saw in the orange jersey, really one of the big early players in that breakaway. Eventually, it became a race of attrition on the front of the race because teams like this, look, United Healthcare and Hollow-Esco Citadel, very similar to the situation that we're seeing right now here in 2017, unfolded last year in 2016. At 3 laps to go, the group was about 20 riders remaining in the front group, but that wouldn't last for long because big teams like Cannondale Drapac went to the front with Alex Howes to drive the pace. Hollow-Esco Citadel was there again. That forced another selection out of the group coming into the final lap, and Alex Howes was the last guy to jump on. As he took a look back, that would be the last time that the field would see these guys. It was a surprise attack from Greg Daniel that caught that group off guard for the Action Hagens-Berman team, as Daniel went about 2K out from the line and just stuck it. He stuck that accelerator down to the floor and put a brick on it, pinned it there. He was able to stay away from the breakaway and shock the field in an upset victory for Greg Daniel. He couldn't believe it as he wore the Stars and Stripes jersey, was awarded the Stars and Stripes jersey. That earned him a ride on the Trek Segafredo team, one of the biggest pro teams, and Greg Daniel was beside himself. What a huge win for Daniel and his squad as he earned the Stars and Stripes jersey last year. But of course, the problem with that, you got to fight for it again this year. You only get to wear it for 1 year until the national championships roll back around again. So we'll see if Greg Daniel can repeat this year in 2017. That would be huge for him to go back-to-back with the national championships.
Yes, and nonetheless with a broken collarbone en route. You saw him just shoot out of that breakaway, and what we saw was the hesitation. And that's what we were talking about today. Just that little bit of hesitation, you could pay the price. And they kind of scrambled. Those 5 guys didn't really know, okay, should we go, should we not go? And Daniel just put everything into it, and it sure paid off.
Well, Gap is still holding at a minute 40, so these guys got this one under control perfectly as Hollow-Esco Citadel is doing exactly what they need to do, just keeping the breakaway contained at this point. They don't want to catch these guys just yet. They want to let them sort of roast for a little while out in front, soften them up a little bit before they finally go for the catch. So Hollow-Esco Citadel right now is just riding tempo on the front. Believe it or not, they're actually taking it easy on the front here as they make their way up and over the top of the climb. So as they work their way down, let's go back out to Emily Proud on course from WATE.
Hey guys, so I had the pleasure of participating in the Pedal for the Red bike race to benefit the American Red Cross yesterday. I had so much fun, but today I'm kind of paying the price. I'm pretty sore, which is why when I was walking around the expo looking at some of the booths, this one came to mind. I thought I had to come check this out. It's pain relief. I only managed to make it through 10 miles. These guys out here are going to do 100 more than that, so I'm sure they're going to need some pain relief, right? How can they benefit from your real-time pain relief?
Well, what it is it's a natural, we have 19 different natural ingredients, and it's a topical application, so it hits directly where the pain is. You don't have to take a pill and have it go through your body. We also have a special formulation of a sports cream that actually is designed to be used before and during the actual event because it has antispasmodic and increased circulation benefits. And then, of course, our Max and our regular pain cream they can use after the race is over when they're really hurting.
Awesome. I'm sure they will be. They got a lot of laps to go. I should have used some of that sports cream yesterday. I'll get some of the other stuff now. But guys, you can come down here and actually get a free sample. Check it out for yourself. See if it works. And you can actually buy some here too. So come on down to the expo. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Emily. The crowd continuing to grow here in Knoxville. So as we'll pick up the action coming back through here in just a bit, we're going to take a short break and be back with more from Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Welcome back. Just over 2 hours into our pro men's race, and we're just about halfway through this one, and it's going to be a long, hot day for our professional men's peloton here in Knoxville, Tennessee. But perfect weather, beautiful conditions, and a great crowd turning out to support our professional cyclists as everyone, all the professionals from the United States come here to Knoxville to battle for the Stars and Stripes jerseys in our national championships. In addition to hosting the Road National Championships today, we also had the Time Trial National Championship championships yesterday. A very different discipline of racing here, Dotsy. The time trial, much different than the road race. A short, fast run. Nielsen Palace on screen now.
Yes, and the time trial is just you, the athlete, against the clock, right? So there's not all these dynamics that we're talking about in the road race. It's just really the fittest and the smartest to the line, right? You can handle a lot of pain and a lot of lactic acid if you're a great time trialist.
Nielsen Palace was one of the early leaders for the Action Hagens-Berman team, but then came Joey Roscoff from BMC, who had a great ride on that squad. Again, Roscoff was really focusing this race today. Riders started at 2-minute intervals, and Joey Roscoff actually got close to catching his 2-minute man, Brandon McNulty of the rally team in the orange jersey there. That is incredibly impressive for Joey Roscoff. And then the finishing run, Roscoff absolutely buried himself. Look at the look on Roscoff's face as he crossed the line. He had nothing left. As he sat in the hot seat, he then turned it over to his teammate Brett Bookwalter, who is also a pre-race favorite. Wearing number 1, Bookwalter had his work cut out for him, but it was a tough day in the saddle.
Yeah, Brent came into the race as the favorite, but I tell you, Joey really, I mean, it was impressive. He beat Brent by 57 seconds, which is solid and legitimate, and probably, you know, was okay for Brent, because when you get beat by 2 or 3 seconds, you start looking, where could I have made up that time? But 57 seconds, no, Joey was just faster on the day.
Yeah, Roscoff blew this one out of the water, far and away the best American time trialist on the bike right now, so he will be wearing the Stars and Stripes jersey heading into next year. But no slouch of a ride for Brett Bookwalter. He had a great day out there crossing the line at 37.22, which is not bad on this course. So Bookwalter can hold his head high after that effort yesterday. The BMC racing rider picking up a second-place ride as he found the podium along with Nielsen Palace in third. What a special day for BMC, Brent Bookwalter, and Joey Roscoff as he earns the Stars and Stripes jersey. Roscoff with a 36.25, Bookwalter behind him with a 37.22. Nielsen Palace goes 37.39. His teammate Will Barta finds 4th place. Larry Warbass, another strong American on the Aqua Blue Sport team with a 38.09. Kyle Murphy finds 6th place with Alexi Vermeulen, Cameron Piper, Jeffrey Curran, and Christopher Blevins rounding out the top 10. We caught up with Joey Roscoff after his time trial national championship.
I've never been able to put a good ride together at nationals, so that's a great feeling. I mean, I know it's something I could do. Like everyone here is not quite out of my league, but you know, a lot of things have to go right for anyone to win a bike race. Winning for anyone doesn't happen very often.
Well, sounds like Joey Roscoff surprising maybe even himself in the time trial performance yesterday. Dotsy, I'm sure you've had those rides in your career where you start the day and say, yeah, you know, maybe I have a chance, but then when you see the results, impress even yourself.
Yeah, it's really hard to put it together on the day. That's what that's what's so extraordinary about great athletes, right? Being able to do it at this level, at the world level, at the Olympic level, because, you know, any given day, you know, every one of these riders probably has the ability, or at least the top 30 here, but it's being under that extreme pressure and delivering in that moment.
All right, leaders are going to be making their way back through here as they're going to be seeing 7 laps to go. The police leading them out, keeping the course closed. Big thank you to our friends in the Knoxville Police Department in Knox County, doing a great job keeping the course safe for all the riders. It is not easy putting on a bike race like this, but visit Knoxville. They are LOC, our local organizing committee, and all the law enforcement agencies have really done a tremendous job. So a big thank you to our local and county police here as well. Couldn't do it without them. One of the only times you want to be in front or behind the cops, have the cops try to chase you down here. So again, the riders will see 7 laps to go on the counter. Dotsy, at this point in the race, there's got to be a little bit of mental reset where the riders look at this and say, oh boy, we're 2 hours into this and we still got another 2 to go. Does it ever get tough mentally out there when you realize that you still have a lot of racing remaining in a day like this?
Absolutely, and you know, especially for those riders, some of those big guns that are on the bigger European teams, but they're small here, right? Because there's only 1 or 2 riders representing those teams. And the Holoesco team, right now they are burning through some matches. And what I'm seeing is they're allowing some riders like a Greggy Daniel, like a Kiel Reinen, like an Alex House, like a Brent Bookwalter, Joey Roscoff. They are sitting pretty. They have been sitting pretty all day long. So, I appreciate what the Holoesco team is doing. I mean, if it weren't for them, this would have ballooned up to, 8 or 9 minutes by now. But I hate to see them burning so many matches because they are really making this race and keeping the gap down. And I'm afraid to say that I think that some of these, kind of sleepers in here, meaning they're having sleepers because they're having a nice, relaxed ride. Not that it's not hard out there, but they're sitting pretty, some of these big guns.
Well, Holoesco Citadel has the matches to burn. Again, one of the biggest teams racing here with 8 riders. There is no limitation to the number of riders that a team can start as long as they're an American professional registered with a professional license and a professional team. We can't bar them from racing the national championship. So some of these teams getting a little bigger than most riders are used to. As Dotsie said, typically these teams are 8, maybe 9 riders. Even smaller in the criterium races, the smaller races, sometimes it's 4, 5, 6 riders on a team. So 3 leaders just rolling through the line, 2 hours and 10 minutes into the stage. As the field will be rolling through here in just a bit. The crowd definitely behind this breakaway. They love a good underdog here in Knoxville. They were cheering up and down the road for our breakaway riders in the pro women's race. It really is a great story to get behind. These breakaways, Dotsie, are 1 in a million. I mean, these guys know that they're fighting against the odds to try to get a win here, especially on this course because it is so hilly and so wide open in those final runs. It certainly doesn't favor a breakaway for a course like this.
Yeah, not so much except for the technicality of it, right? A very technical course always favors a breakaway, but really just that strong, raw power that we're seeing from the peloton that we saw in the women's race too, although they mistimed it. I agree with you that this favors really more of a sprint finish.
All right, so as we wrap up the course here, waiting for the peloton to come through, let's go back down to WATE's Trent McGill with us on course.
Hey guys, this is awesome. The breakaway group that goes through there, and then you got a little bit of a break before the whole pack rolls through, and the intensity. I mean, everybody on that side, on that wall right there, just gets electric. They start beating on the boards and everything, and oh yeah, as they come through, this is going to be an absolute blast. So if you're not down here, you got to get down here. Brad, I'll send it back to you guys because you guys know more about the technicalities of what's going on here. We're just having a blast. All right. You can see the flags on the side that are blowing from the wind that comes from those guys. So that's an absolute blast. This is new to Knoxville. You've got to come down here. Again, we've only been going for a little over 2 hours, so you still got some time to get down here and just, you got to take this in. I'm almost at a loss for words as to how cool this is. Eat down here, drink down here, have fun down here. We're out here at Old City, and the track, the course goes all over Knoxville, from Old City all the way to South Knoxville. So you got to just get to that race course and you got to take it in, guys. Brad, this is a blast.
I think the best way to put it is this joke.
Thanks a lot, Trent. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the best pro cyclists in the country. Coming here to Knoxville, we're going to take one more short break. We'll come back and pick up the action live from the 2017 USA Cycling National Championships. Welcome back to Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the 2017 U.S. Pro Road National Championships. Our pro men out on course right now, just about halfway through as the crowd continues to grow. If you're in Knoxville and not here yet, come on down to Old City, as this really is a beautiful course and a great venue with plenty to do for the whole family. It's not just bike racing. We got great food, great drinks, Great atmosphere down here in Knoxville as well. In the booth with Dotsie Bausch, my name is Brad Soner. Dotsie, this is a very special race here at the National Championships, and something that you know well as a 7-time national champion, as an Olympic silver medalist. In cycling, we don't really have a Super Bowl. There's no World Series. There's no one race that we can point to and say this is the most important race. The National Championships are probably about as close as we get to it. So it's not only an important race, but obviously there's also a lot of pride. This is such an international sport, and to wear a Stars and Stripes jersey here, you know you're going to be flying that flag all over the world. It's a really, really special race at the National Championships.
It is, and to be perfectly honest, winning the Olympic medal was extraordinary. But that very first national championship jersey that I put over my shoulders, I mean, it still brings goose pimples all over my body. It's just, there's just no feeling like it because you have so much pride for your country.
Yeah, everyone remembers their first, and it can also do a lot for your career. Talk about what happens after you win a national championship. Every team wants the Stars and Stripes jersey on their squad, so imagine whoever wins here today is going to be getting at least a few phone calls to their agent in the coming weeks here.
Yeah, this is true. It definitely does something for the career, and it also does a lot for your confidence in moving forward throughout the season and even into many seasons, because it can never, ever be taken away. That happened. You did it. It was legitimate. Under the most pressure that you could possibly have on one day, you delivered.
You know, we talked about so many great stories in this race. Amber Neven was one of those, overcoming so many obstacles to come here and win another national championship to add to her resume. So there are a lot of battles being fought out on the road right now, and a lot of those stories will close a chapter today at the Pro Road National Championships. All right, well, it is really tough racing out there. A lot of riders coming unglued off the back of this race, and that may be the story for most of the day today. This hill is absolutely wreaking havoc on the riders going up Sherrod Road and then on their way back down. Again, the hill is really the major factor in the course. This is the hill just as they go over the Tennessee River for the first time across the South Gay Street Bridge. Then they hit the climb coming off of Mimosa Avenue onto Sherrod Road. It comes down off of Davenport Road. And then the course really opens up as they make their way onto Cottrell Street and then onto the James White Parkway, which takes them back over the bridge. So sort of a tale of two different types of racing. You've got on the left-hand side of this map is the narrow, hilly racing, and then on the right-hand side of this map is sort of the wide-open, flat racing. Really different and variable course out there.
Yeah, it's so true. It's a bit strange. You kind of like have to prepare your legs and your gears for poppy explosiveness through the technical part of the section, the narrow, windy roads, and then back out there near the freeway. It's just, wide open, full-on time trial power that you're laying down. So that's exhausting to have all of that, all of those elements in every single lap times 14 laps. These guys are getting tired. I don't care who you are out there or how pretty you're sitting in, as I was saying earlier. They're starting to feel what this course has done to them.
All right, we are back with live pictures from the back of the peloton. This is the back of the main group. Hollow Esco Citadel driving at the front, but we haven't really talked a whole lot about these guys trying to sit on the back. Again, for a lot of riders, it's a race for survival today. You're just trying to stay in the group because they know that selection is going to be forced later in this race. So these guys just trying to battle for position. The gap has gone up. They're saying 1 minute and 55 seconds over race radio right now. So that breakaway starting to step on the gas a little bit. Maybe Hollow Esco is letting off here as they get a little more comfortable with those three riders up the road. Again, the gap just under 2 minutes at 1 minute and 55 seconds, up to 3 leaders right now. All right, well, as these guys work their way down off on the climb, let's go down to Emily Proud. Sounds like Emily found some special guests joining us at the race today.
Hey guys, so I know there's a big race going on over here, but an even more crucial one right here at the expo between me and Abe. You ready to ride, man? Let's go. Oh, jeez. So he kind of just is going a little bit faster than me. I think the bike fits him a little bit better, but we're over here in the Strider Adventure Zone where we've got these great little bikes. You see Abe still doing laps at this course. It's really fun. Strider donated these bikes for kids to have some fun, and afterwards, since they're donated bikes, they're going to give them away to a few lucky kids. I highly suggest you get out here. Look at him go. Look at Abe. He's almost done, and I'm still at the start. We'll let him continue and send it back to you, Brad.
Well, that kid better be careful. He's going to have an Action Huggins-Berman contract waiting for him when he gets home. Keeps riding like that. Great to see so many kids on their bikes, bringing their families down, exploring their hometown by bike. That's a big part of what this is all about, and why races like this are so great for the community here in Knoxville. Really about bringing families together, enjoying some great outdoor activities, getting kids active, getting kids on the bike, and maybe some parents too.
It's true. I know a lot of these professional bike racers that we're seeing here today have that same story. I've heard it before, where they were 2, 3, 4 years old, and their dad, their mom took them to a bike race, and they fell madly in love with it and wanted to go get on a bike, and then, you know, look where it landed them.
All right, we're going to pick up the action here in just a bit as we'll work to get those live images to you. We'll take one short break and be back with more action from Knoxville, Tennessee, the U.S. Pro Road National Championships. Six to go on the counter here in Knoxville. 6 more times around a very tough course laid out for our professional men at the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships of 7.9 miles around the circuit. My name is Brad Soner here with Dotsie Bausch, and joined in the booth by USA Cycling President and CEO Sherrod Hall. Derek, we had a chance to catch up with you earlier. For those of us for those watching just joining us, I want to go back and talk about the women's race, and then we'll talk about the men out on course. This was a really special national championship for you and the USA Cycling program. To have a world champion standing on the podium, you awarded the Stars and Stripes jersey to her. That must have been a special experience.
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, Amber is one of the greatest athletes that we have ever had for American cycling. She's the reigning world champion, and she wins the National Time Trial Championship in the rainbow stripes. I give her the Stars and Stripes jersey to put over the rainbow stripes. That was exciting. And then what she did today, to go off and to attack like that and be aggressive and hold off the field by herself, that was just incredibly special. How the field let one of the best athletes in the world for riding by themselves go is beyond me, but they did, and she really stuck it to them. It was really fun to see. Just an incredible race, and the whole podium was superb. Look at that. You know, Amber and Corinne Rivera and Ruth Winder. I mean, those have been the top 3 women of American cycling so far this year, and they went 1, 2, 3 in the road race. Superb.
Since you came into office, I know women's racing has been a really big focus of yours, trying to build that program. And looking at that podium today, I'd say things are going pretty well on that front for you guys.
Yeah, well, we have one of the very best talent pools of women in the entire world, and we are going after it. We are trying to promote them and help them succeed at the highest level, and you know, we're really seeing that happening. You know, we have top women on the World's Tour, winning lots of medals at the Olympics. It's a really exciting time for American women's cycling.
Yeah, we're talking about the Road National Championships here at Knoxville, but how about the track program? Friends like Dotsie Bausch winning plenty of Olympic medals for us. We've really seen that program become one of the most dominant programs in cycling. The Team Pursuit program, winning on the track. We've really seen that segment of professional racing grow quite a bit.
Well, we're trying to build off of Dotsie's legacy and keep
your
that going.
legacy. People don't know that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Team Pursuit myself, but yeah, we have the 2-time world champion Team Pursuit team. Narrowly got the silver medal in the Rio Olympics. We're going to go after the gold. And now the Madison has been added to the Olympics, and we have arguably the most talented women's endurance track team in the world. You can bet that we're going to be trying to get them to be as good as they possibly can be for Tokyo.
Derek, we're taking a look at live images from out on course, our breakaway of 3 riders. One thing I'm noticing about this breakaway, young rider, young rider, young rider. We have a ton of American talent in the pipeline. It's going to be a great next few years for the Americans on the road.
Yeah, we really do. It's really an impressive talent pool that we have in the young men's realm, and yeah, we're going to be excited to see what they can do. Nelson Palace and Adrian Costa, Brandon McNulty, I mean, these are names that are already rising to the top in the international field, and they're so young. It's really thrilling.
A lot of people don't realize the support that USA Cycling gives to these young riders with the U23 program, the Devo House over in Europe. Talk a little bit about some of the programs that are offered to aspiring riders and how you guys sort of foster that talent when you identify potential future big-time riders.
Yeah, it's one of the things that is most important for us. A lot of the athletes, when they get to the highest level, they already have a lot of support from their professional teams. When they're just developing, they need help. They need support from us. And one of the things that we do is we pull together resources from the USOC, our sponsors, our foundation, and are able to send the athletes to compete in Europe and enable them to really dedicate themselves full time to their craft at a time when it's so important to them in their development. It's something that the organization's been working on for many years, and we're seeing the results of that year after year. In fact, most of the men that you see in the pro peloton, for instance, have come through our program.
Is that specifically been one of the focuses that you have brought in to really make sure that these athletes have the support that they need? Because as we know, cycling's a niche sport in the U.S. It's not like the NFL, right, or the NBA. So these new athletes, the young athletes, it's a struggle in the beginning. So you need the support of the governing body like USA Cycling. I would love to talk about that specific focus that you have had that we've read a lot about to help these young athletes.
You know, I don't think I can take credit for it. It's something the organization's been doing for a while. One of the things that I'm really focused on is make sure that we put our energy towards resources where people can get it from nowhere else. When there are opportunities where people can get it from the professional teams or other areas, we let them do that, and we're not going to put resources towards that. But where we are the ones, or if we don't do it, nobody else will, that's what we're really trying to focus on. A good example is the endurance track program for the men. It's something that we haven't been doing recently, and the problem is if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. So we're trying to put resources that we feel like have an obligation to America's best athletes. If they depend upon us, we better deliver. But this is something that was identified by the organization, and we need to support the young riders to get into the European peloton, men and women, and we're certainly going to continue that tradition. It's really important for what we do as USA Cycling.
All right, so taking a look at our three riders on the front, this is another really cool program. The Action Hagens-Berman program has really brought a lot of young American talent on and focused on it. Here in Knoxville, Tennessee, we're going to see these guys a lot today at our Pro Road National Championships. This is also a big part of it, isn't it, Derek? Getting these riders onto pro teams. Obviously, they race on the USA Cycling national team over in Europe quite a bit, but the ultimate goal is to get them a pro contract, get them a pro ride so that they can really show their talent to the rest of the world.
Yeah, and this Team Action is a great example of a partnership we have with them, where a lot of our athletes we take to ride with our biggest events at the World Championships. For instance, Axel Merckx, the son of Eddie Merckx, runs that program, and we work together to help give these young athletes every opportunity they possibly have. And when you have tremendous talent, you just got to give them an opportunity, and off they go.
Hey, we've been talking about the high-level racers, the professionals. What about guys like me? I just ride so I can eat all the pizza I want. What can USA Cycling do for a guy like me?
Yeah, well, it's in fact, the majority of our membership are people like you that love the sport and participate in all sorts of different ways, and that's actually changing right now. The format where people join our organization simply to participate in a traditional race is changing. We're seeing that there's people that have broader interests, Zwift, Strava, Grand Fondos, Fun Rides. There's a diversification of activity right now, which is challenging for USA Cycling, but wonderful for the sport. One of the things that we've done is we've developed a ride membership geared towards the enthusiast. Somebody who may not want to do traditional racing, but they want to support USA Cycling, they want to receive some of the benefits that we offer to our members, you can become a ride member and support our organization and get some great stuff for yourself at the same time. So take out a ride membership, Brad, and you'll support us, and you get some really cool things with it. USA Cycling t-shirt, phone pouch, roadside assistance. Somebody just told me about how it saved them last week having that. All of our member discounts, Bicycling Magazine. There's a wide range of things for the $50 membership, and it's really valuable to our organization in supporting the work that we do.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I've missed the talent ID window in my racing career, so the ride membership sounds like a perfect fit for a guy like me.
I'll have you talk to Jim Miller, our athletics director, and see what he thinks about your promise.
Yet, are you?
All right, good. We'll see if I maybe still have a chance to go pro at 28 years old. So you never know. Stranger things have happened.
Yes,
Derek
indeed.
Bouchard-Hall, President and CEO at USA Cycling, thanks so much for joining us here in the booth. Derek, keep up the great work out there in Colorado Springs.
Thank you. We're having a great time here in Knoxville.
Can't wait to be back 2 more years here in Knoxville, Tennessee, as the men's field rolls through the line. The peloton keeping an eye on those 3 guys up the road. The gap right now is holding just under 2 minutes. They saw 6 laps to go across the gap, across the line, and now they're saying 1:45. Boy, this has been consistent time checks, Dotsy.
Yeah, it really has. It's just sitting right there. They're doing exactly as we've been saying, just holding it, holding it, holding it. At some point, though, we are going to see some action, whether it's on the hill or on the descent or just on that big, open, wide freeway road from some of the contenders that are in the back that have been, you know, I've been saying sitting pretty. I know it's hard back there too, but they're certainly saving a lot more energy than this Holoesco team and our three young riders off the front.
All right, well, still trying to tack that one back. They're saying 1:45 from the leaders back to the peloton as Holoesco Citadel continues to chase. A little over 2.5 hours in to our USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. We'll be right back after this. Back with the front of the peloton, Holoesco Citadel continuing to chase, and sounds like they are starting to put some time into our three leaders. Ian Garrison, Sean Bennett, and Daniel Eaton up the road right now, but maybe not for long if Holoesco Citadel has anything to say about it. Dotsie, they have been on the front now for the better part of an hour and a half trying to tack this one back. A lot of weight falling on the shoulders of Holoesco Citadel, but so far they look happy to accept that role.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like they've been asking any other teams. I'm certainly wondering what Rally is doing, but I mean, you know, why come to the front and waste all your matches when Holoesco is doing it? So, yeah, it'll be fascinating to see if any of those Holoesco riders can get in the top 5, and it'll be incredible feat if they do, because whew, I'm just tired just watching them.
Well, there's a few guys on that team that won't have to do any work today. They won't have to see the wind or put their nose in the wind until probably about the last 500 meters of this race, unless they try and launch a late race breakaway. But they are trying to bring back these three riders, led by Daniel Eaton on the front in the blue jersey for the United Healthcare Pro Cycling Team. Behind him comes Ian Garrison, the Action Hagens-Berman rider, and then wearing the Jelly Belly kit, Sean Bennett, number 61, your three riders in the breakaway. We were talking with Derek Bouchard-Hall just a little bit ago, the president and CEO at USA Cycling, about the makeup of this breakaway, all young riders. Ian Garrison, just 18 years old, in second position right now in this group of three. He's had a tremendous year, second place at Ghent-Wevelgem this year, a historic one-day race, the U23 version there, where he had a great ride with his Action Hagens-Berman team. So a lot of talent in this breakaway of three, and it's all future talent. You're going to be hearing these three names a lot over the next few years if you're a cycling fan in the United States, with Daniel Eaton, Sean Bennett, and Ian Garrison.
I really want to help encourage your dream to go pro.
Well,
you could do it at 28. That's when I went pro.
Wow.
Yes.
Really?
And I know you're a guy, and they peak a little bit earlier, but I still think it's in you. I mean, if the desire's there, you can do it.
I just sent my power files over to Jim Miller, and I can see him laughing across the street.
Shoot.
So I don't know. We'll see. I think I need a little more training here. Well, these guys working their way down off the descent, they just hit 46 miles an hour on the moto coming down, and that's pretty impressive considering these guys are pretty much wearing nothing but their underwear and a helmet. There is not much protection being offered by the Lycra skin suits that these guys are wearing. It's all about going fast out there on the bike.
Right, they're really taking advantage of that speed that you can do when you're only three of you, right? Going down that twisty descent like we've been saying, where I guarantee you the peloton is not going to be able to go at that clip 46 miles an hour down that, because you don't have as many choices as these three do for the lines that you want to take down that road. But
just went over 50 miles an hour on the way down there. And then you got to think they're carrying that speed into these turns. Man, it really is incredible what these riders are doing on these bikes, really pushing them to the limit here over the 14 laps of racing on our 7.9 mile course.
And it's heating up. I mean, we're under a tent, but I mean, all of that kind of fog and clouds that we had this morning, which brought that nice cool weather, has lifted, and it is getting hot, and it is very sunny. It's baking down on these guys, so that is zapping their energy.
Dusty, I think the two biggest riders in this breakaway would be Daniel Eaton and Ian Garrison. Sean Bennett is really unknown rider here for the Jelly Belly squad. Now, let's talk about the different levels of teams racing here at the National Championships and where these guys race. There's really three different levels of teams that these guys will race on. There's the World Tour level, which is the highest level of the sport. Then you go down to Pro Continental, and below that is the Continental level. So kind of like in baseball, you have AA, AAA, and then the MLB, sort of similar with World Tour Pro-Continental and Continental. Now, the United Healthcare team is a Pro-Continental outfit, so that's the second tier of riders. Daniel Eaton is actually a graduate of the Action Hagens-Berman team. He's a former rider on that Action Hagens-Berman team, which is all young riders. So you eventually age out of that program, and really their goal is to get those riders on to bigger teams. So Daniel Eaton, one of the many success stories coming out of the Action Hagens-Berman program. Is it ever weird racing against your former teammates or your former team? Obviously, these riders change teams a lot. Sometimes these contracts are only 2 or 3 years, and they'll shuffle around quite a bit. A lot of times you find yourself in a breakaway with a rider that you spend a lot of time with, bonding on the road. You're sharing hotel rooms. You're on the road in Europe for 6, 8 weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden you're asked to race against them. Is that ever hard to do in a situation like this?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit hard, but it's really just like the big major ball sports, right? Like you get traded, you know,
Sure.
every couple seasons, and so you know you're hopping teams, and it's a little hard, but you know it's also interesting because you have a real significant window into that rider's strengths and that rider's weaknesses, and so then you might see these guys exploit the weaknesses, which is what you have to do if you're going to win this bike race, to somebody that could very easily be one of their close friends.
Matt Stevens of the Arapahoe Resources team working his way through the feed zone here. We saw him grabbing a bottle just a little bit ago and went right into the bottle cage here. Now, this Arapahoe Resources team is one of the smaller squads. We were talking about the size of the teams and the different rankings of the teams earlier. For riders like this, for Stevens to even get on the podium at a national championship, that would be a career maker for him. That would certainly be a big step in his quest to become a professional here.
Yeah, that's really what's so cool about the national championships, right, is you have those elite world tour riders competing against the continental pros, and you really don't see that in any other sport that I know of, you know, like the major league against the minor league. That doesn't happen, and quite often you see these continental riders really shining in a race like this, like we're seeing today.
Well, Stevens certainly shining bright here as he has gone off the front of the peloton, which is the large group on the road. So he is the 4th place rider in the race right now with those 3 leaders up the road, and he is caught right in the middle. This is a really tough place to be and a really hard thing to do. To bridge across solo with no help, I would say this is one of the hardest things in the sport to do. Again, it's so much mental as well as physical to be able to put that pain aside, and Matt Stevens is doing a great job of it right now.
Yeah, he's just totally in the zone, you know. You're not really seeing him flail around or, you know, get too disgruntled or, you know, there's no slobber coming down on the handlebars yet. He's just really smooth and focused and in the zone because he knows that he's got to save some energy for if he does get up to that break, and then if for some reason they're able to stay away, he would be racing for the Stars and Stripes. So there's always a balance of energy that you're thinking about when you're in a situation like this.
Well, Matt Stevens is a very versatile rider. He won a race called the Dirty Kanza, or the which is one of the longest sort of gravel races out there, this new breed of races that we're seeing come up. It's incredibly long and incredibly tough as well. Obviously, they're not racing on smooth roads. It is a brutal race, and Matt a winner at that event, so he can really do it all. He's in this one for the long haul. He definitely has the endurance legs to go across a gap like this. So Matt Stevens on a bid to come out of the field and try to join the breakaway, as they've got him in sight though, so Stevens may have some company here sooner rather than later. So as he goes back into the group, we're going to step back and come back with more live action from the National Championships. Well, this is the catch being made right here. The peloton swallowing up Matt Stevens of the Arapahoe Resources team, who spent some time solo off the front trying to go across the gap but didn't get any help. So Stevens pulls the plug. He will go back into the group, and we're right back where we started an hour and a half ago with 3 riders still away. Holoesco has this one on lockdown. The Holoesco Citadel team is the big line of riders that you see at the front of this group as they make their way around the U-turn here onto James White Parkway. Really been controlling this race from the gun. You saw the little elbow flick there on the front, just a small, subtle little flick of the elbow. That tells the rider behind him that he wants him to come forward and take over on the front. Again, it's really all about fighting that wind, creating a draft for everyone else, and keeping some fresh legs on the front. So they turn it over to their next rider as Brendan Rim takes his pole on the front.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious when Matt Stevens started eating that he was he'd had enough, and you do kind of have to make that decision, right, where you're in the middle of Nowheresville, which we call it when you're in between the break and the peloton, but the peloton is closer to you than you are to the break. Sometimes it's better just to kind of sit up and reboot.
Boy, we talked about teams punching above their weight. How about this Canyon team riding in second position behind the Hollow West Coast Citadel squad? These guys have been doing really, really well today. Saw a couple attacks earlier today from this group. They came back in, but now to see Canyon riding up here with Hollow West Coast Citadel, certainly a very good ride for that squad. Man, so steady on the front of this race as well. It's amazing how long and how well these guys can tap out tempo. It's about consistency on the front. They'll put their power meters to a certain number. That's the power that we measure being created by each pedal stroke, and really just keep that number there. It's about knowing yourself, knowing your limits, knowing how long and how hard you can go, and then just keeping the accelerator there, keeping the tachometer just below red line. You don't want to go too hard, but you also want to make sure that you're not making the race too easy for the other riders.
Right, so for these guys, they're probably seeing somewhere between 350, 375 on their power meter at this just kind of constant outflow of power, somewhere right in there. I mean, you know, in the sprint, we'll see way over 1,000 watts, but that's just a sustainable amount of power.
So they're going to be coming off of the overpass here very shortly on James White Parkway. We'll then see them go across the Tennessee River on the right-hand side of the screen. This is the entrance back onto the freeway, and then that'll take us back here to the line in Old City.
It's almost like watching a metronome. I mean, and they've just been so consistent and so fluid, and the rest of the peloton is certainly happy letting them do the work, because we haven't seen anybody else put their nose out there.
41.3 miles of racing at this point on course. If it's anything like the last 41.3 miles, Hollow West Coast Citadel is going to be doing a lot of work. These guys have been controlling the front of this race really since this breakaway left the group, just a couple laps into the race. Now you see the United Healthcare team car going up out of the group. So that car was following behind the main peloton, and they're allowed to go up to service their rider. As long as the gap is more than 1 minute between the field and the breakaway, the team cars of any team that has a rider in the front group in the breakaway is allowed to send that car up. So United Healthcare going to go up and probably give Daniel Eaton some cold water, some food, and some words of encouragement as well. 14 laps around the 7.9 mile course here in Knoxville, Tennessee, for a total of just under 110 miles. It's actually surprising, Dotsy, 110 miles, really not all that long of a race. These guys are used to doing 130, 140 mile races, no problem. It's not so much the distance that affects these riders. They could go out and do 200 miles easy if they need to. It's the intensity over that short time. We could take this race down to an hour and these guys would still be gassed. If it was let's say a 30 mile race, they'd go as hard as they could for 30 miles and they would be just as gassed as they are going to be at the end of this 110 mile race. It's about knowing how much you have in the tank and trying to time that just right so you use that last little drop of gas just as you're coming across the line.
You're right, and that's why you have to prepare accordingly, and that difference, but being able to do and produce that chronic training load and that acute training load, right? Because you need both of them in a race like this, with the distance and then the intensity that is being required and is definitely going to be full max requirement here as we head into the last 2 and 3 laps.
All right, leaders coming back through the start-finish area here. Daniel Eaton with his United Healthcare team car just behind him. Saw him taking some food from his team director as they fly through the line here to the cheers of the crowd in Knoxville. Eaton had a quick chat with his team director as well. I think he was asking for something specific to eat. And you pretty much get whatever you want when you're in this situation. If they've got it in the car, it's yours. And whatever you ask for, they're going to do their best to get it for you.
It's very possible at this point that he has requested an ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of sugar, a little bit of caffeine, but just something that is ice-cold is going to feel and taste so good.
Yeah, if you're a bike rider, you know that feeling. If you've ever been right on the edge of cracking or bonking, as we call it, when that cold Coke hits your lips, man, there's no feeling in the world like it. You get just that extra little boost to get you home, and that's exactly what Daniel Eaton is trying to do right now. Unfortunately, his home is a little farther away than he would maybe like, as he's got a long road ahead of him with his two breakaway companions, Sean Bennett and Ian Garrison. Meanwhile, the peloton working their way back down to the line here. Otters getting rid of the bottles there off to the right-hand side, getting ready to grab some fresh bottles through the feed zone here. Looks like Jelly Belly lining it up on the left-hand side here as well. Now, they've got a rider in the breakaway, Sean Bennett, so Jelly Belly is actually trying to play defense in this situation. Dotsie, talk a little bit about what you can do as a teammate in the field if you've got a rider in the breakaway. A lot of folks don't realize how much of a team sport pro cycling really is.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to really see at face value, but the beauty of these guys being back in the pack, or most of them are the big guns of the big team. So it's very calming to have one of your teammates in the breakaway, because then what that does is it takes the pressure off of your team to be chasing or trying to bridge, because you already have someone up there, which is what we're seeing. Holowesko has nobody up there in the break, so it has fallen on them to have to chase this down, and you don't want to be in that scenario, right? Because we've seen them. They're just on the front all day long hammering, and yes, it is for a couple of their guys that are probably sitting back there pretty, but these guys are just burning all their matches and wasting all of their energy, so you know there's no chance for them to win this bike race. So you really are laying it on the line for your teammates. It's a true sense of really giving everything you have for someone else to have a glory day.
Well, speaking of riders giving everything they have, how about this rider? Absolutely cooked coming through the line. We talked about this earlier, Dotsie. When you're done, you're done. Once you go off the back of the field like that, there's no catching on. It's sort of like jumping off a moving train at 60 miles an hour. You're not going to get back up and run up to catch that group. It's one of the Caja Rural riders who had a good ride early on. We saw both of those riders in the green jerseys going to the front, but had maybe just a little too much on the front. That's Chris Butler falling victim to the pace here. I wonder if Butler might have been working for Justin Oyen a lot today. Oyen, his teammate on that Caja Rural team. So now Justin Oyen finds himself on his own. All right, we'll take a look at this. We got some new leaders on the front of the bike race. Holowesko Citadel has finally relinquished control of the front of the field to a team called Rally Cycling. In the orange jerseys, they got 4 riders lined up here on the front. No Rally riders in the breakaway, so this is a smart move. The gap is also coming down. They're reporting a minute 20 as they came across the line. So, Dotsie, this might be it for the breakaway as the field is now really starting to step on the gas here. That's Brad Huff, the Criterium National Champion. You see the red, white, and blue bike. I'm sure Rally would love to build another one of those Stars and Stripes bikes for their riders this year.
Yeah, Brad really digging deep, right? Because he was in the break earlier and got dropped on the climb, which, definitely took a digger out of his leg. So he got right back in and is there to really work hard for his teammate. He's fantastic technically. You could see him taking that corner just a bit faster than that guy in second place there on his team really wanted to take it. But it's about time that Rally came to the front and shared some of this load of chasing down this breakaway.
I was really happy to see Brad Huff win the Criterium National Championships last year. He is a loyal teammate through and through, and every single rider that you talk to that's ever ridden with Brad Huff all say the same thing. The guy will give you the shirt off his back if he needs to. And for a team worker to finally get that recognition at Crit Nationals was huge for Brad Huff. I know it was a big win for his career to wear the Stars and Stripes jersey on the American circuits. Criterium racing is typically an American style of racing, so he got to wear that Stars and Stripes jersey quite a bit here in the United States. His job is done. Brad Huff is going to go off the back here. He has done a ton of work on the front. He emptied the tank for the Rally team, did everything he could. Mission accomplished for Brad Huff. Great job out there on the front today.
Yeah, both of these teams are really laying it on the line for, their kind of superstars on their team, the Holowesko and Rally. I think that we're going to start to finally see a little bit more fireworks, both off the front and off the back. This is really taking its toll, and I think we're going to start to see some riders that are just not able to keep up with this pace up the climb.
Well, gap being reported at 1 minute now, so this one is coming down quickly as Rally has absolutely slammed the accelerator at the front. Rally said enough is enough. We're going to shut this one down. This breakaway will start giving up significant time to the field now that Rally has come to the front. Holowesko Citadel just can't control this one any longer. All the big teams are saying, all right, we got to shut this breakaway down. They want to get their guys up there. They maybe want to start a new breakaway with the Rally rider in it. They've still got some good sprinters, which we'll talk about as we get down towards towards the end of the race. But Dotsie, all right, this is a major point in the race. The first time that we've seen another team other than Holowesko Citadel riding on the front, and that's bad news for the breakaway. The gap is now down to 1 minute. The breakaway losing significant time.
We got a little tiny bit of a separation there too, which I think we're going to see increase as they go down that super twisty, steep descent we keep talking about.
This might be the first split happening in the group, as this is a huge ride up the Sherrod Road climb. Probably the hardest that we've seen the peloton going up this climb so far today. As we get down to the final 5 laps of racing, they are hitting it on the front here. So they've made it up and over to the top of the Sherrod Road climb. Rally goes to the front to take over. The breakaway may be in danger. We'll find out when we come back from this short break. On the way down off the Sherrod Road climb, they hit it hard on the way up, and now they're hitting it hard on the way down. These riders going into the tuck, the paycheck tuck, as they try and get as aerodynamic as possible on the way down. And the gap is coming down in a major way. 40 seconds now being reported from the front of the peloton to the back of the breakaway. This break is coming back, and it's coming back quickly.
Yeah, it sure is. When they really wanted to do it, then that's when it's going to happen. And this is it's like sharks back there, right? Just going after the prey. They're all in, and I tell you, even though I did this, it makes me nervous seeing them go that fast down that hill. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. There's the difference in the speed right there. I mean, you can really see what's happening.
Riding is on the wall, and this is just smart bike racing within these three. These guys realize that it's going to be wasted energy if they try and stay away at this point. So all three of these riders have now come to an agreement. They're going to pull the plug. They'll go back in. But Dotsie, now we watch for what's called the counterattack. Very often we see a move go away just as a breakaway is caught. Riders will try to attack. They say the best time to attack is not when you're feeling good. It's when everyone else is feeling bad. And right now, that's these guys in the front. They've been chasing this breakaway down. Those 3 riders are going to be out of the conversation. So now watch for someone to try to jump away from this group or possibly force a selection here as they come back on to James White Parkway.
Yeah, that's really the very best time in a race to go as a counterattack, and
well,
here it comes.
Is exactly what we were talking about, coming up the right-hand side of the road. And who's going to be there but Rally? The orange jersey's going. Looks like Action Hagens-Berman is going to respond to this one as they'll send a new rider up the road. The Rally rider that sparked the move is Danny Pate, wearing number 37. Boy, this is a huge talent going up the road here for Pate. Certainly a rider that they're going to have to look out for. And then the Action Hagens-Berman rider is Jacob Rappy, number 63. Oh boy, this is 2 big riders going away up the road. Rappy in the white jersey of the Action Hagens-Berman team, Danny Pate in the orange. And look, everyone knew it. You do not let those 2 guys get away into a breakaway. Everyone came up to follow that move. And here goes the old 1-2. Rally is going to relaunch this one. Danny Pate sets it up, and now 2 riders going away. Looks like they've got a Jelly Belly rider in a Rally sandwich here.
And they sure do have the numbers to be doing this. I mean, I was wondering about Danny Pate because he's been quiet all day. He has 20 years, if not 22, 23 years of experience. I mean, he's raced in Europe. He was on Team Sky, right? The team of Chris Froome now, who is looking to make a bid for his next Tour de France victory. But he's raced all the big races with all the big guns. There's probably no one in the peloton today that has more experience than Danny Pate.
Well, as we go over 3 hours of racing, it is on the front of the field right now. These guys going full gas. The attacks are flying left and right as they wrap up 109 miles of racing. Actually, 109.9, almost 110 miles of total racing. By the time this one is all said and done, they have 4.5 laps to go on the course today as Rally sends another rider away. This time it's Emerson Arante taking over on the front. The 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks from Rally so far today.
Yeah, they're not letting up, as they shouldn't, because they have the numbers and they've got the legs. They've got some really talented athletes on their team, and they know that this really is the hot spot of the race right now, right? This is really going to decide what's going to happen at the finish line. This is the decisive moves of the day.
Boy, Avola rider Tyler Stites picked the perfect time to come to the front here because the action is really unfolding. Dotsie, this is a crucial part in the race right now. The split is coming. This is where you are panicking to get to the front of this field because there's going to be a selection here, and if you're not on the right side of it, you can kiss that Stars and Stripes jersey goodbye.
Right, you cannot get off the front if you were on the back. So those guys that are sitting back there, you know, they just are on a hope and a prayer, because it's very, very unlikely that they are going to be able to make any kind of actionable move from way, way back there.
Yes.
So the action is all happening here at the front. That's, you know, kind of small mushroom shuffle that you're seeing happen between those top 10 guys, and they're just going to go, go, go until something finally sticks.
Well, these wide roads are making it really tough to get a breakaway going. Want to take a look at the map here one more time. Right now they're on the right-hand side of this map, working their way sort of by the Cottrell Street off of Wynn Avenue. They're going to go up and over Anita Drive on the overpass before getting back onto the James White Parkway to take them over the river. This is a really tough place to get a breakaway started. As we said earlier, the right side of this map is relatively wide open. The left side of the map is really more narrow, so it's really tough to get away on a 4-lane freeway because everyone can see what's happening. We saw a lot of riders trying to move over to the side, trying to get out of the way of the peloton, and what happens? Everyone follows them over to the other side, so it's really hard to escape from the peloton in a situation like this on the wide roads. But Rally certainly not for a lack of trying. They have been all over the front of this one. Very aggressive in the orange jerseys for that American squad, and this is really, I guess, the place to do it because they sort of get a chance to take inventory. It also set up a split in the group, so we'll keep an eye on those guys. The action is heating up here in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're back with more from the U.S. Pro Road Championships after this. New leaders on the front of the bike race here in Knoxville, Tennessee for the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championship as Rally has gone to the front and put the hammer down. It was Holowesko Citadel controlling the front of the field, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Rally decides that they're going to take charge on this one, and it got really chaotic really quick. While we were in break, we did see some riders going down in a crash. You'll see it just off to the right-hand side of the picture here. You see riders just kind of touching wheels, right in the center there, and took a few riders down in this wide-open section. Looked like a rider trying to come across that group. They touched wheels, and that took at least one rider down. Luckily, it sounds like everyone is okay. We'll have to wait on confirmation for these riders, but man, just goes to show you one little slip up, one little
Yeah, couple scenarios here. I think, you know, one is the wind. I mean, it is windy out there on the wide open roads, but another is the fatigue factor that's setting in, and that's when you start to make mistakes like that, and just that one little touch of the wheel, like you said, can completely take you out, and it's never a soft landing.
No good way to crash a bike, that's for sure. Well, Race Radio saying Griffin Easter, one of the riders involved in that crash for Team Illuminate. We saw him riding on the front early on in this race in that all-black kit. So we'll see if we can get an update on Easter and the other riders that went down in that incident. Unfortunately, that's part of bike racing, Dotsy. Almost every race will have at least a couple riders going down. Anytime you put that many riders out there on bikes going 30 miles an hour that close together, something's bound to happen.
Right, in the women's race with about 2 kilometers to go, there was a crash that we didn't even know about. We saw Allison Tetrick come by and say hi to us about 30 minutes ago. She has a couple broken ribs, some road rash on her leg, and she said, you know, it was just kind of one of those things with the intensity and the fatigue, and somebody just kind of bobbled, and she crashed right into him.
Yeah, this is where it starts. As you said, the fatigue starts to set in. You stop holding that line. You start to get a little looser on the bike, and that can cause some serious problems for the riders. Here's another attack coming out of the field. Boy, this is a huge, huge ride today from Rally Cycling as they have been one after another going on the front. Well, Holowesko Citadel may have had the consistency early on, but Rally has the explosiveness now.
I love this style of racing, right? They're just not sitting there, you know, kind of boringly, but just, you know, in a line. They're really just sending the riders off one by one. They definitely have the numbers, and they're just making this race happen, and eventually something is going to stick.
Well, Shane Klein, the rider going now for the Rally Cycling team. I think just about everyone has taken a look off the front for that squad, as Klein is the latest attacker in the orange jersey of Rally Cycling. Klein coming out of Bally, Pennsylvania, as he takes a look back. You can see the ice sock on the back of Shane Klein, right on the small of his back, right there. And there goes Easter trying to chase back in after that crash. Good to see him back up and rolling for Team Illuminate. Oh boy, and the crowd loving Easter as he comes through.
This full animation now happening for the crowd here in Knoxville. I know they're loving every minute because, you know, it's not just here at the finish line, right? We're seeing different people on different parts of the course out there in the feed zone cheering these guys on, and it's really getting animated and exciting.
Well, Shane Klein looking steady here off the front in the orange jersey, as he's going to take that opportunity to look back, making this tight right-hand turn onto a little bit of an uphill kick here. That'll slow him down just a bit. Good news about bike racing, everyone's got to go through the same course.
Something that's really starting to play a factor is the heat. I mean, I've got like a hot spot here in the booth that I'm trying to stay away from. I mean, it's got to be 90 degrees, and it was not that hot earlier. So if you didn't hydrate, if you didn't plan ahead, just in case it were to get this hot, you are in trouble right now, right? Because if you're already thirsty, it's too late, like you've been saying. So they're using those cold ice socks up on the back of their neck, and they're really having to hydrate. But the most important part of that process was making sure they were staying hydrated earlier, which we saw a lot of them do, but I guarantee some of them didn't, and they're paying the price right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You can plan all you want for these hot weather conditions. They knew it was going to be hot, but it's not until you get out there on the road do you realize how much it really affects you. For a lot of these riders also, if you're not training in the heat, if you're not used to this hot weather, it can majorly affect your body in some really weird ways. If you're not spending a lot of time in hot weather, you know you have the power, you know you should be able to ride a certain way, but then you get out on a 90-degree day and all of a sudden it's like, boy, what happened to all my training? I've been working so hard.
Absolutely, and I think it's very fair to say that while we've been sitting here since they started at about 1:15, it has increased temperature-wise by at least about 12 to 15 degrees. I mean, it is in the 90s, and it was not that. It was like around 79, 80 when we still had the cloud coverage. So that's a big difference, and it's just beating down on their backs, probably melting those ice socks faster than they would like.
All right, speaking of weather, let's go down to WATE meteorologist Trent McGill joining us here at the USA Pro Cycling Road Championships.
Hey, Brad, we're right here at the start-finish line, and it is absolutely electric. People are starting to filter in now from Sherrod Hill, so that big hill that we keep talking about. We're going to start to see more and more people now down here, right here underneath the bridge here in the old city. So this is actually an absolute blast. Whenever these bikers get ready to come back down this strip, everybody just comes along this wall. Everybody's beating on the boards, and everybody's clapping and shouting and just ringing those cowbells. It's an absolute blast down here. So if you haven't made it down here yet, you're watching it on TV, this is what we're talking about. So take that and multiply that. Just multiply that when you see those groups of people come through here. So yeah, you can see it right there. We had some, there we go. There's your crowd support. You guys were talking about an accident we had a little bit earlier. That might have been one of the guys involved. So we're going to keep an eye on all of this. We're going to send it back over to Brad, but this is about to get even more exciting, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Trent. That is Josh Berry coming back in to the finish line. Yeah, after going down in that crash, one of those riders involved in the crash on that wide open section. Good to see Josh back up and rolling and playing it up to the crowd a little bit. Pretty amazing that the first thing these guys want to do when they go down in a crash is get back on the bike. They really are true strong men on the road.
Yeah, he looked 100% okay. I didn't see any, gaping holes or wounds.
Yeah, just a ripped jersey on the, I guess was his right shoulder. And that should be fine. Tatsu, the most common injuries that we see out here for the cyclist, I would say the broken collarbone is probably the most common injury that we see. It's one of the weakest bones in the body. When you crash, you tend to put your hands out, and that shock wave goes up your arm, through your forearm, through the elbow, through your bicep, and then your collarbone is really the first thing to crack. So we see a lot of broken collarbones in this sport, along with road rash. That's the other thing. Here's Chris Butler, the abandon here, working for his teammate earlier today. So he emptied the tank for the Caja Rural team. Justin Oyen, his teammate, is still out there on course, but Chris Butler gave it all in support of Justin Oyen today. Good ride from Butler.
Yeah, I think we're going to start to see more and more shrapnel, if you will, from the peloton, right? Guys that have really worked for their teammates and kind of their days done, or just have had enough out there, enough of this climb, enough of the heat, enough of this zapping their energy and tired legs.
We were talking about riders coming back from injury. Shane Klein, the rider that was off the front earlier, had a pretty catastrophic broken femur earlier in his career. That left a big question mark hanging over the future of his professional career. It is not easy to come back from an injury like that because you're off the bike for so long and you're basically starting from square one, regaining your fitness. You're back to where you started before you became a pro, but luckily Shane fought back and now he's back to racing shape with the Rally Pro Cycling team. So they're coming off of the Sherrod Road climb right now, 3 hours and 15 minutes into our pro men's race. We're going to take another short break and we'll be back with more action from the USA Cycling Pro Road Championships here in Knoxville. Well, more action on the front of the peloton here in Knoxville. Shane Klein has come back into the group, and now we've got new riders attacking off the front. It is a constant battle here to try to get a breakaway started, but it's really just forcing a selection here. This is becoming a race of attrition with each passing kilometer in the 110-mile race to determine our USA Cycling Professional Road National Champion. So they all come back together as we hit the reset button on the front of the field. 3 hours and 18 minutes in, and they still have about 2.5 laps to go around the 7.9-mile circuit here in Knoxville. Through the feed zone now. Everyone better be grabbing bottles. This is going to be your last opportunity, or one of the last opportunities, Dotsy, to get some of that nutrition on the bikes.
Right, because you know, they will eventually shut it down, and they won't have the opportunity, definitely on this last, the very last lap, to get any feed. So you've got to kind of think ahead again and make sure that you're hydrated and you're fueled enough that you don't run out of gas before the finish line. You want to run out of gas right after you cross the finish line.
See a rider holding a bottle up in the air. What he's doing here is calling his team car forward. There's a specific order that the cars have to sit in the caravan, and they cannot come forward until they are called forward by the commissar, which is sort of like the traffic director out there on course. That was Kyle Murphy calling his Silence team car up. So Hilton Clark, the team director from that squad, going to be driving the car up. Kyle Murphy will drop back, and then Hilton Clark will give Murphy whatever he needs. Another good example of how important having a good team is here at the U.S. Pro Championships. That is Alexi Vermeulen on the front in the yellow and black jersey of the Lotto Jumbo NL squad. The young kid out of Michigan spent a lot of time racing his bike as a junior rider. We knew that he was going to be a huge talent. He got into that U23 development program, part of USA Cycling's program over in Europe, and that landed him a World Tour contract with the Lotto Jumbo NL team. More attacks coming up the left-hand side of the picture, right-hand side of the peloton. So they put in an effort, Dotsy, for about 10 seconds, and then they look underneath the elbow, trying to see what kind of damage they've done behind them, trying to see if anyone's going with them, if they've caused the gap. Sometimes that's a little disappointing when you put in a big effort and you think, oh, I gotta be away at this point. And you look back, and there's the entire field with you.
Yeah, it's good to assess the situation always, but that's it. That's another paycheck move. Do not look behind you or underneath your elbow unless you're being paid to do it, because it's always safer when your head is up and looking forward. But they have the skill to do that, and they need to assess the situation. Is what I'm doing right now effective, or do I need to sit up and go back?
I would call this move effective for the CCB rider on the front with the pink shoulders and black shorts with blue highlights. Rally is there as well. Hollow-Esco Citadel has a rider. United Healthcare is there. Action Hagens Berman. This breakaway has everything about it that's looking very good. A lot of major teams represented here. Some very good riders in the move, and a lot of riders trying to go with them here as well. This might be a break for the record books here as they try and get something started off the front of this race. The attacks are coming fast and furious now. That's Chris Jones, who has moved to the front for United Healthcare.
Yeah, this looks good, and they know it. You can see the Hagens-Bergen rider look back and say, oh yeah, here we go.
Well, not good enough, because too many riders joined that breakaway. They gave up the ghost on that one, and now someone else trying to go. Attack after attack after attack. This is brutal racing on the front of the pro men's field.
Yeah, and out there on that big wide road with the crosswind, they're really attacking a lot on this big wide road, which I think that we would traditionally see a little bit more in the dicey part of the course, right, where you can really attack and get away and sort of get a little out of sight. But they're really using these big wide roads to their advantage.
Well, riders using that opportunity to swing out to the side and sort of take inventory of who's there, but more importantly, maybe who's missing, who's not near the front. Because if you see one of those major players, like let's say a Travis McCabe is missing from the front of this bike race, you hit it hard here because you got a good opportunity. If McCabe is maybe at the back getting bottles, though that's probably not something that he would be doing on a race like today, but if for some reason he has found himself towards the back of this group, might be a good opportunity to try to spit some of those big favorites out of the back, or at least get a move going that they are absent from.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those races where only the strong survive, right? Like, you can really see the attrition starting to set in. Again, like we talked about, this race is a lot more, this race course is a lot more benign on paper. I mean, it's really taking it out of these guys. I mean, I know half of it's the heat, but you know, they're just a lot more lethargic looking in their movements and their pedal strokes and how they're attacking than they were in those first couple laps.
All right, the elastic has snapped here. This is a really good-looking breakaway. Look at the field behind them, all spread out across. So this breakaway might be gone for a while, although we've seen a lot of these breaks go away, and then the guys all just sit up when they realize, maybe see a rider that they don't want in the breakaway, or see a team that they don't want represented in the breakaway. But this one certainly looks like it's got some potential now, as they have gone clear of the field. This group might be a little big. It might be a little too many riders in the group, but a lot of good riders. That red jersey is a Trek Segafredo jersey, which is one of the World Tour teams that we were talking about earlier. That's going to be either Greg Daniel or Keel Ronan. Greg Daniel, the defending champion, wearing number 1. His teammate Keel Ronan would certainly like to get a Stars and Stripes jersey. This national championship has been something that Keel Ronan has been chasing for years. It has so far eluded him, but Keel Ronan certainly a good pick for the win today.
Yeah, he's a great all-arounder, great sprinter. It looked like the rubber band snapped, but then now I'm seeing the peloton almost riding at kind of like that same pace, right? They're saying the same distance behind, but I don't know. These 11 guys, it could be a little big, but on a day like today, you know, you're going to need that much horsepower. It's been proven, right? These breaks of 3 and 4 aren't working.
I think that is Keel Ronan in the red jersey on the front. We saw Action Hagens-Berman. The light blue jersey, I believe, is going to be Elevate Pro Cycling. Here comes United Healthcare to the front in the dark blue jerseys. Another Action Hagens-Berman rider here in the white kit. Behind him will come a Volo in the dark green kit with yellow highlights around the bands on the sleeves and shorts. Then comes Rally. And Action Hagens-Berman through again. So a lot of big teams in this breakaway, and this one looking better and better. You can see the peloton just barely behind them. Not for a lack of effort in the peloton, though. They are certainly trying to chase this one down right now, and I would be too. I'd be nervous about this move if I had missed it.
Yeah, they're still just right there, but this group is working well together. We're seeing each one take that, you know, a very specific amount of time on the front, about 10 seconds move through, 10 seconds move through. So they are working really fluidly together, which the back of the pack won't be, but there's just still so much horsepower there in the back.
Well, getting down to it, they're just a couple kilometers out from the line before they'll return back here to the start-finish area, where they're going to see 2 laps to go. That's Gavin Mannion on the front as he pulls through. He'll turn it over to the Elevate rider. Here comes Trek Segafredo. That is Greg Daniel wearing number 1. I'm sorry, I thought that was Keel Ronan earlier, but the defending champion is in this move, flying number 1 for the Trek Segafredo team. Great to see Greg Daniel in here.
Greggy's suffer face is always a smile. Reminds me of Chris Horner, right?
All right, so they're on their way back in. We're going to take one more short break, and we'll be back as we keep an eye on this break here in Knoxville. Well, things heating up here in Knoxville, and we're not talking about the weather. It's getting hot and heavy at the front. Multiple attacks coming here off the front with 23.7 miles to go. 3 more times around the circuit here in Knoxville as more riders continue to get shed out the back of this group. The pace really starting to pick up on the front now, Dotsy.
Yeah, we saw Brad Huff there again, just riding so vigilant for his team. Probably working for Evan Huffman if I had to guess. But yeah, the rally team has just been so impressive today, just sending off rider after rider after rider, and they've really been in every decisive move that has happened.
Well, small group just dangling off the front here. 3 riders with a little bit of daylight to work with. I would say nothing for the peloton to worry about just yet unless these guys really go to the front and start hammering it. Just under 3.5 hours in the saddle for our pro men so far. And there's the catch being made as the field regains contact with those 3 riders after their brief foray off the front. All right, so a little bit of lull in the action here as the guys take a break. We hit the reset button. Sounds like a good time to go down to WATE's Emily Proud joining us on course.
Hey guys, so I know Trent has been talking to a lot of Knoxvillians about today's race, but I have kind of a different perspective for you. I'm here with John, and John, tell me, how many times have you been to a USA Cycling National Championship?
This will be my 8th race.
Your 8th race. So we're all wondering, we're dying to know, how does Knoxville compare?
Knoxville has knocked it out of the park on this one. 3 other locations before this one, and we were so pleasantly surprised with the way they put this together. World-class treatment of everybody here, and a setup and running of it has just been wonderful.
What is it that makes Knoxville unique to some of the other locations that you've been to?
I think the way the town has embraced the event, I think you've really put the word out well. Obviously people are showing up to come out and watch the race, especially a lot of people who don't understand what cycling is or all the little pieces and parts of it that make it happen, but it doesn't matter. They came out to support it. I know the town has put a lot of time and energy into it. I think they're trying to support their city. So that's a great thing to see. It's a feeling of unity, much more here than I've seen in other places.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hope to see you back here next year again. Brad?
We'll be here.
Thank you, Emily. Back with live pictures on the front of the bike race. Hollow West Coast Citadel is back to a comfortable spot for them on the front. They seem to be most comfortable leading the race.
They do. It's almost like a little bit of Groundhog Day, and I say that in a positive light. Like, it's just so incredible how hard these guys have raced, and they're still one pack.
Well, things are stringing out. I'm surprised this group is still this big with how aggressive the racing has been. It just goes to show you the level of talent here in the United States. We have really seen the professional ranks grow over the last 5-10 years. The overall level of talent that we're seeing at the professional national championships has gotten better and better every year, and no better example than the crop of riders we have here in Knoxville today.
And obviously these guys would have watched the women's race this morning. That gives them just an indicator of kind of how this course plays out. And, you know, it proved to be a course where a solo breakaway could stick. So, you know, they know that, and they're realizing where we might have looked at this course as something different, that they say, okay, we're not going to let anyone really get too much daylight because it could stick, it could go. And then if we misjudge the timing, that's it.
Just under 22 miles of racing remaining to go now. As we take a look at the field, it started with 102 riders on the line this morning. I'm going to guess we're down to right around 50, maybe 60 riders remaining in this group. A lot of breakaways, a lot of attacks, but in the end, they all come back together here as they make their way up onto the Sherrod Road climb. Again, right around 2 miles into the stage. You see the big lump on the elevation profile here. They're just starting that climb right now. It's a short kick up and then sort of a long drag up to the top before the narrow, windy descent coming down. Action Hagens-Berman taking over on the front now. Hollow West Coast Citadel marks the move. Now, Action Hagens-Berman spends a lot of their time racing in Europe. A lot of their riders are used to these long climbs on these long road mountain stages. More of a Tour de France style riding. This one-day racing on these short, punchy climbs is maybe a little different than these guys are used to. This reminds me of the Philadelphia course, certainly very similar to the Philadelphia International Cycling Classic course that was a staple on the calendar for so long. Again, it's really not about the long climbing legs. It's about who's got the most aggressive riding out there, and right now it's this Action Hagens-Berman rider.
This reminds me so much of Philly, and in that race too, they race a really large amount of miles, the men. But it's kind of like just the build up over the race of doing this climb over and over again. If you just take this climb and you put it solitary by itself and you go up it one time when you pre-ride this course, you go, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
We'll be fine, just like at Philly, the wall. But you add this many laps and racing it this hard, and it's like climbing Alpe d'Huez.
And it really all depends on the intensity of the race. It depends on how hard these guys are going at the front. And I can tell you right now, they are drilling it on the front, because we're seeing more and more riders come off the back of this one, as now the moto begins the long, narrow descent down off of Sherrod Road. Working our way through the cars here to pick up the back of the group. So they saw 3 laps to go on the 7.9-mile circuit. And this climb comes right around 2 miles into the circuit here, as we'll pick up the back of the group on the descent coming down right now.
Coming through the finish line, we're starting to see a lot of casualties. A lot of the guys that are just, they've had enough, they've done their job, they've done their work, and they're coming off the back. And we have probably a little bit less than half of the riders that started today still out there on the course.
Yeah, this is another group that we're with right now that has come unglued off the back, getting dropped on that climb. Now this group going to work together to just try and survive this race. They just want to finish. They want to make their way onto the results sheet to at least say, I was there and I finished the 2017 Road National Championship. So they just came off of Davenport Road. At the bottom of this map, they made the left-hand turn onto Cottrell Street off of Wynn Avenue. Then they're going to be making the U-turn back on to the Parkway. Back with live images at the front of the race. That is TJ Eisenhart, Utah's own, the winner of the Redlands Bicycle Classic this year in the overall. He is a huge talent with a lot of potential. I don't know if today is the day for TJ Eisenhart, but you're going to be hearing that name a lot over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple days ago, and he just said, you know what, I don't have any specific expectations. I'm one of those guys that just lives in the moment. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to give it everything I have on the day for the title. So that is an important aspect of being a great bike racer, is just being able to be right there in that moment.
All right, back with the peloton as they regather coming off of the climb. We're going to do the same. We'll have more action for you just after this at the USA Cycling National Championships. More riders trying to escape. This is Knoxville, Tennessee's own Stephen Bassett, the hometown hero, trying to chase back on here in a tough day at the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Meanwhile, we go back to the front with TJ Eisenhart of the Haloesco Citadel team, once again trying to drive this move. Dotsy, once again, things are heating up here in Knoxville.
They are absolutely lighting up the road here. It's really incredible to see. I mean, we've had just great shows all day long, right? From the women and the men, kept us wildly entertained, thank goodness. But oh man, this is so difficult to call. I feel like in the women's race we had just like a little bit more of an idea of who to predict at this point in the race, but I'm still just feeling like, it's wild card.
Hey, I'm not complaining, and I know you're not either. This is great racing, and it's all because they're fighting for the Stars and Stripes jersey. Whoever wins this race will be crowned the national champion, and that means they get to wear a special Stars and Stripes jersey for the rest of this season until next year's national championships. And for such an international sport, for these riders to be able to wear that custom Stars and Stripes jersey is huge. They're going to fly the flag all over the world, represent their nation, so there's certainly a lot of weight attached to the national championships. It's a big deal in professional cycling. It looks like a little lull in the action on the front here. A lot of looking around up there. I think the guys are right now just waiting for that next attack. They know that it's coming. It's just a question of when.
We just saw one of the Team Illuminate riders come through here and peel off. He had his day finished, and they have those black jerseys, and he was absolutely covered with salt from sweating so much. You look like a powdered donut in that black kit. So it really is showing us how much the heat is taking from these riders when you're losing that much salt. And another thing that we should bring up in their hydration and in the electrolytes, right? Sodium is the most important electrolyte along with magnesium and potassium, but sodium being the most important. So some of these guys, if they naturally, genetically lose a lot of sodium, they will literally be eating salt tablets during this race so that they can keep that in, because they lose all too much when they race at this effort in this heat.
Well, this is a major group forming off the front here. 19 riders going clear with plenty of big favorites in the move. All the single-digit riders are there. Keel Reinen, Alex Howes, Brent Bookwalter, Justin Oyen have all made this move. So this is the first time that we've seen that green jersey of Alex Howes. That tells me that this might be the break of the day. If Howes is in it, he has very clearly marked this move. Robin Carpenter is there. Ty Magner is there. Colin Joyce is there. Robbie Squire is there in this move. Dotsy, I think this is it. We're watching the race unfold in front of our eyes right now. This is the selection. If you're not in this group, you can kiss the Stars and Stripes jersey goodbye. Your national champion will come out of this selection on screen right now.
Yeah, this is big time. This is it. You called it. This is exactly the field that's going to go to the line for sure. We've got really all the heavy hitters. And now we're going to see how they're going to play this out, because not all of them can wait for the sprint, right? We have probably 3-4 guys in here that would like to wait for the sprint, but the rest of them, they're going to have to make moves like Amber Neben did in the road race.
All right, well, looks like these guys starting to let up just a little bit on the front. A few more riders going to join in behind them as TJ Eisenhart continues to push here for the Hollow West Coast Citadel team. We're going to take one more break from the USA Cycling National Championships. When we come back, they'll be down to 2 laps to go here in Knoxville. This is it, the U.S. Pro Road Championships coming to a head here as the selection has been made heading into the final 2 laps of racing. Rally Cycling putting one rider on the front. All the major players have made this selection. Dotsy, this is it. We're watching the race unfold in front of our eyes. When they come back through the line, they're going to be just under 16 miles of racing remaining. That's 2 laps around this 7.9-mile circuit.
Certainly one lap of this is time trialable by a couple of these guys for sure, you know, namely Brent Bookwalter. So, you know, I think he will have to pull something like that off in order to win the Stars and Stripes. Many of these guys will, and here we go again, another attack.
Yeah, this is Action Hagens-Berman going once again. Boy, these guys have been all over the race today as well. No one wants to go with him, so he's going to be left out there all by himself. That is a tough situation to get yourself into. He's hoping riders will go with him, but this rider going to be all on his own as they come back through the line to see 2 laps to go. It'll be just under 16 miles of racing remaining here.
Starting to get a little spicy out there. I can see the guys yelling at each other as they look up, look back, look up. All right, who is going to close this gap?
Well, that is, I believe, going to be Jonathan Brown for the Action Hagens-Berman team. We'll have to check on that as they work their way through. I'm looking for the orange jersey of Stephen Bassett to see if he caught back on. He was chasing earlier, but I think Bassett might be out of this group. Here's the chasers coming through now. Team Illuminate on the front of this one. Trying to catch back on to the group. There's Brad Huff tucked in as well. Saw him on the front with a couple of attacks going as well.
You see some of the guys on the back, they're still drinking and eating because they know it's about to hit the fan.
Yeah, even in this group, these guys still trying to hang in here. Meanwhile, the Action Hagens-Berman rider going off the front and not letting up. So, boy, this is going to be a really bold move for this guy trying to go solo. It's a 1 in a million shot, but just like the lottery, you can't win if you don't play.
That's right, and that's probably exactly what he's thinking, because he knows if he gets caught this kind of effort out there out front, well, you know, he's going to be going straight to the back. So you got to give it everything you have. You know, if you don't really have a chance maybe against these guys in a sprint or even in an attack up the hill, well, if you can get up to the hill, to the top of the hill before they do, then maybe you can slot in and then have a chance to the finish line, or maybe he makes it solo.
All right, so confirming that is Jonathan Brown as the rider out of Tennessee, coming out of Covington. Having a look off the front now. And looking very good. Johnny Brown certainly going all in on this move. There is no in-between speeds for these Action Huggins Berman guys. You're either on the gas or sitting in. And right now, Jonathan Brown is on the gas, full stop. Here's a look back at how he got away. Perfect positioning to jump away here, Dot. So you never want to go off the front from the first position. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh wheel. You always want to attack from behind and try and catch the field off guard. That's exactly what Jonathan Brown did here.
Yeah, and a little bit over on the other side of the road, like we saw too. So then the guy in the front looked over from Rally and was like, you know, they're just it's almost like you're kind of like uninspired. Like, it's so hot, this is so hard, and I've got to get up to that speed, but all the way over to the other side of the road. So it's just to attack like that is so smart because it's discouraging to the peloton.
Well, Jonathan Brown comes from a family of bike racers. His brother, Nate Brown, you may recognize that name, one of the top American professionals. And now Jonathan riding with the Action Huggins Berman team, trying to follow in the footsteps of his brother Nate. Boy, 3 hours and 48 minutes on the bike for these guys. And at this point, they've still got about 15 miles of racing to go at a lap and a half on the 7.9 mile circuit. There you go, 14.7 miles of racing remaining for Johnny Brown. Boy, what a ride this would be for a rider from Tennessee to win in Tennessee, for Tennessee. Johnny Brown's got a few extra watts underneath him, I'm sure, here today.
Yeah, we've seen, I think the theme of the day is just bravery, right? I mean, this is, you know, you almost look at this and go, oh man, that's going to be impossible to pull off. But he was just brave enough to try because he knew what his odds are if he stays in the pack. He knows that they're pretty low, that he's going to win a Stars and Stripes jersey. So, you know, it just takes that inner fortitude and that bravery to say, I'm just going to go for it. You know, look what happened in the race earlier today. The bravery is paying off, especially on a course like this.
Yeah, so now Johnny Brown settles into the rhythm, does the best that he can to at least try and get a little bit comfortable here off the front as he hits the Sherrod Road climb for the penultimate time up. Only have to face it one more time after he conquers it this time through.
Okay, that's painful to watch.
Yeah, these hills get bigger and bigger every time you see him on the bike. It never gets easier.
But he has to remember the other guys are hurting just as much, or maybe not.
Wow, swallowed him up very quickly. This is Alexi Vermeulen going on the attack now. The young man out of Michigan, riding for the Lotto Jumbo team, has now come to the front, blew right by Brown on this climb. Boy, Vermeulen is riding on another level right here. He is out climbing this group pedal stroke for pedal stroke. Look at the split happening behind him. Alexi Vermeulen is absolutely blowing this race up right now.
I think we're going to see this trickle down to maybe about half the size that it was, and then the last time up the climb is just going to be complete fireworks.
Look, and this is how you win a race like this. It's about surviving all the splits, making sure you're at the front for every move to make sure that you're there. Now BMC put some hitters on the front. Boy, you know this is a serious move when BMC hits the front of the field.
This is a time of the race where you got to lay everything on the line. I mean, right at this point, there's really no reason to be conservative anymore.
All right, so big names coming to the front. Cannondale is there, BMC is there, and Lotto Jumbo is there as they make their way up to the top of the climb. The moto's got to get out of the way, so we're going to take a short break. On the way down, we'll pick them up as they get to the bottom of the Sherrod Road climb. You're watching the 2017 USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Welcome back, riders on the descent coming off of the Sherrod Road climb here at our men's pro road race as they are inside of 2 laps to go. These guys are flying down the descent. A decisive lap unfolding in front of our eyes. We saw a major selection earlier and now another one happening on the climb that they're working their way off of right now. Some riders trying to tack back on and hang in, but Dotsy, this is it. If you're not in this group right here, another selection. It was 50, then 30, then 20, and now we're down to about 15 riders in this front group.
Yeah, I don't see that back 15 connecting the dots to those guys. I think that's it. That's going to be where the winner emerges from, and I think that we'll see that split again in half up Sherwood on that last time.
Man, look at this. This one has exploded coming off of the climb. So 3 riders away. I believe that's Larry Warbass, the Aqua Blue Sport rider, who is tacked onto 3rd wheel. Confirming that is Alexi Vermeulen sitting 2nd wheel. And now the Action Hagens Berman rider. We're picking up Nielsen Palace. Oh boy, this is a huge move with Palace, Vermeulen, and Warbass, your 3 riders on the front of the race now. These guys are going to work together. This is a very dangerous breakaway that we're looking at right now. This may be your U.S. Pro podium if these guys can work together.
Yeah, Larry Warbass, man, he's had an unbelievable season winning a stage of the Tour de Suisse. He was kind of our dark horse, but he was 5th yesterday in the time trial, and we haven't really seen him today stick out his nose. So he looks smooth, steady, and strong. This is dangerous right here.
You know it's getting serious because we're starting to see the single-digit riders, the big favorites in the race, coming to the front. So we have confirmed that is Larry Warbass going into what is now the front of the group. The first time we've seen Warbass putting his nose in the wind, and he picked a good time to do it. He waited for the weakness in the field. He knew something was coming. Larry Warbass couldn't have played this one any better as he finds himself in the breakaway with Alexi Vermeulen and Nielsen Palace, your 3 leaders on course. We were talking about the family affair earlier. Nielsen's sister Shayna racing in our pro women's field here at the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships.
Looks pretty organized. They are absolutely railing it. You saw when Larry Warbass took the front, that Lotto Jumbo rider just, oh man, he barely got on to that. He was getting separated. Just incredible power with these 3.
All right, around the U-turn onto James White Parkway. And these guys are flying away from the front of the field. Those are the nearest chasers on the left-hand side of your picture just now going by, so they'll have a good look at the front of this bike race as the chasers try to bring back these 3 leaders. The rest of the peloton trying to make their way up here as well, but the action is really starting to push on the front. Vermeulen, Palace, and Warbass in the breakaway. We got to take one more break, and we'll be back with your 3 leaders at the National Championships after this. Welcome back. 3 leaders separating themselves as they make their way over the Tennessee River on their way back to downtown Knoxville. Larry Warbass, Alexi Vermeulen, and Nielsen Palace, the 3 leaders here at the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships in their bid to earn the coveted Stars and Stripes jersey here in Knoxville. 3 kilometers back to the line where they will see 1 lap to go one more time around the 7.9-mile circuit. It's all going to come down to this. Brad Soner being joined by Dotsie Bausch here in the booth. Dotsie, boy, this is about as good as it gets. 3 riders away. Can they stay away for the remainder of the race? This is a big ask for only 3 riders.
I am seeing so much power coming out of there, but I tell you, Alexi is suffering, or he is playing a good game, right? Because sometimes that's smart to do. Oh, I can't come through, I'm sorry, but he is just really, like, his bottom lip is just dying on the top of that handlebar every time he takes the pull, and then he goes back to get back on that 3rd wheel. He's just struggling. The other 2 riders, they're looking really calm, really powerful, really collected. Warbass and Palace. This is the move, I think. It's hard to imagine that they're going to be brought back.
I think I saw Larry Warbass smiling last time coming through. Hard to believe that he's enjoying an effort like this, but sometimes racing your bike, believe it or not, can be fun. That's Larry Warbass in the blue jersey going to the front. He rides for a team called Aqua Blue Sport. And again, we've been talking about this a lot today. Larry Warbass is a guy who doesn't get the chance to race here in the United States a whole lot. He spends almost his entire year racing over in Europe. Same story with Alexi Vermeulen in the yellow jersey behind him. He rides on a Dutch squad called Team Lotto Jumbo NL. So for them to come back to the United States, that gives them a few extra watts underneath them. They're taking full advantage of the opportunity given to them here in Knoxville today.
Yeah, is it just me, or does Warbass look like he's literally in the first lap?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Fresh as a daisy. And I got to assume that's a grimace. It certainly looks like a smile to me, but I can't imagine a guy like Larry Warbass is smiling after 4 hours in the saddle with still a little over 8 miles of racing to go. Although he may be thinking, this is my shot for a Stars and Stripes jersey, would certainly go a long way in Larry Warbass's bid for a contract as he looks ahead to the next few years of his professional racing career. Winning a national championship always earns you points with the teams.
He decided to take this corner a little bit differently.
All right, so they're just making the left-hand turn up at the top of this map. They're coming off of Harriet Tubman Street onto McCalla Avenue. They'll then have a little left-hand bend onto Jackson Avenue, which is where we'll be sending them out for the final lap of racing here at the start-finish. Now we're going back to the chase group, and look at the names in this group. That's going to be Alex Howes in the green jersey for the Cannondale Drapeback team. Howes was second place last year and was incredibly disappointed with the result, so he came here hungry for a win at the national championships. I believe that is going to be Brent Bookwalter with him. We'll have to double check because it's either going to be Bookwalter or his BMC teammate Joey Roscoff. Actually, that might be Roscoff. We'll go up to him in just a little bit here.
They realize though the move is up the road, and so it's now or never. You know, you can't wait. You can't sit back there and just hang out. So you got to go.
Travis McCabe is the United Healthcare rider. All right, the attack's starting to come out of this group now, so they are starting to get aggressive, trying to figure out what to do about those three riders up the road. The podium is riding away from these guys, and they may be panicking a little bit. Nielsen Powlis coming through, Larry Warbass second wheel, and Alexi Vermeulen sitting third. This is it. They're going to be heading out for one lap to go. The final 7.9 miles of racing. It all comes down to this in Knoxville, Tennessee. What a crowd cheering these guys on. They are absolutely roaring here in Old City outside of downtown Knoxville. It does not get much better than this. Now come the chasers working their way through. And they've got to figure out what to do about these three riders up the road.
There's Rally again on the front, right? They've worked so hard all day. They've been in so many breaks, and they can't not let this one slip away. So they are all hands on deck up there at the front.
Our very own WATE's Trent McGill ringing the bell for one lap to go. What an honor. So Trent sends these guys out for the final lap of racing. Boy, Dotsie, at this point, if you're a rider sitting in that front group with three riders away, you've got two other riders to worry about, but you can't start fighting amongst each other yet. These guys need each other in order to stay away from the chasers behind them. So in a weird way, these three opponents are actually riding like teammates until they believe that they're safely away, that there's no danger, that they'll be caught by the riders behind them. These guys are all for one and one for all. They all have the same goal of staying away from this field, trying to pull off the impossible and ride their way to a Stars and Stripes jersey.
And the tough thing is this climb comes kind of at the beginning of the lap, right? And that's really the decisive part of this course. So if any of these three riders is thinking, I don't want to go to a sprint, an all-up sprint between the three of us, that's when they're going to have to make their move. But then they still have a good 5.5 miles that they got to hold on to.
35 seconds, the time gap for these three riders as they head out on the final lap of racing. We had our very own Trent McGill ringing the bell for WATE. Trent, must have been a blast.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I've been saying it all day, the energy, the atmosphere. I mean, it is electric up here. And then they let me ring the bell? Come on, this is just incredible. What an absolute honor. This was a blast. And they've got their final lap. They're just getting through here. And after 100 miles that they're running, I rang the bell for about 30 seconds, and I'm a little out of breath. So this is just exhilarating. Get on down here. If you haven't been down here yet, make sure you're coming down here because this is incredible, guys. Back to you, Brad.
Hey, thanks a lot, Trent. Trent joining us from WAT. I think we might have made a new cycling fan today, Trent McGill and Emily Proud.
He looks very happy down there with the bell.
All right, three riders away. Again, we go back to the leaders. Alexi Vermeulen in the yellow. taking over the duties on the front. Nielsen Palace in the white jersey of Action Huggins Berman. And Larry Warbass in the blue kit of the Aqua Blue Sport team. Hard to pick a favorite out of this group of three. I would say these guys are all pretty much on equal terms. If this does come down to a three-rider sprint, none of these guys are pure sprinters. None of these guys are great sprinters. They're good sprinters, but these guys are really climbers and time trialists. That's what they do best. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the tactics play out among this group of three here.
Yeah, if it comes down to that, you're going to see a diesel charged sprint, which is in a really big gear, almost in slow motion, but they're putting out like 1,100 watts of power.
Well, meanwhile, Rowley continuing to chase on the front of the field because they've got a big problem without a rider in this breakaway. These guys are going to push it. Look at Alexi Vermeulen still talking to Nielsen Palace here. These guys are still on the same page right now. They're still working together. They haven't started racing against each other just yet. They're still racing together because they need each other to work together to at least secure a top 3 finish for this breakaway of 3. So one last time up the big climb. Little over 2 miles into the final lap. They'll come down off of the Sherrod Road climb, and then it's all out on the way to the finish. Will anyone attack on the climb in the final lap? Certainly looks to me like they're going to stay together here, Dotsy.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any fireworks, which really then it's going to come down to just tactical savviness. You know, they're going to go down this really steep, twisty descent, and then, you know, it's really who's going to make the right move at the right time that sticks. That's all it's going to come down to. This is going to be much more of a mind game than a physical game these last 5 miles.
Yeah, the mental tactics as well. So we're going to be talking a lot about taking pulls. The riders on the front are doing about 30% more work on a flat section of course because they have to punch through the wind. They don't have anyone to draft behind. Meanwhile, the riders sitting second and third position, they get a little bit of a break from the wind. But when we talk about working together, this is one of the ways that a breakaway can work together, by taking turns on the front, taking turns creating that draft. Now, eventually, someone is going to stop working in this group. Someone is going to say, I need to start saving my energy for the finish. When they believe that there's no danger of them being caught by the field behind them, they're going to start what's called sitting on. It's where you just stay at the back of the group and you do not go to the front in the interest of keeping your legs as fresh as possible.
Yeah, it's gonna. They probably will start playing games at some point with each other, but I think that they're still going to stay as a cohesive unit here until they get inside of 3 kilometers to go if they're smart, because the pack is raging behind them.
All right, riders on the way down. The crowd is building here in Knoxville. Let's go out to WATE's Emily Proud joining us here at the National Championships.
All right, guys, here we are. I cannot believe it. We have finally made it to the final lap, which means over here at the expo, they're getting ready for the medaling ceremony. Of course, everybody's still vying for this piece of gold medal, but what's pretty cool is they're also going to get the Stars and Stripes jersey. Let's check it out real quick. How awesome does this look right here? That's what they're working on right now. We still have yet to crown a winner, but whoever does will step up on this stage right here where I'm sitting and accept their medal and this sweet Stars and Stripes jersey. Guys.
Well, more and more, it's looking like one of these 3 guys is going to be standing on that very podium here in just a few minutes as they work their way down. This breakaway has done a tremendous job of getting away from the field. I think they caught a lot of guys off guard, and there's going to be some panic going on behind them in the race for what is now 4th place, with these 3 riders taking the first 3 spots on the podium.
Yeah, they're all going to be standing on the podium if they stay upright, which is certainly an honor. But right now, every single one of these guys is thinking and calculating, how can I win this bike race? That is their only thought right now. And they're figuring out to play to their strengths and how to exploit the other riders' weaknesses, because that's what they're going to have to do to win.
Yep, pretty soon they're going to start looking around, looking for weakness, looking for the weakest rider in the pack, someone that they can attack. They look for that, just a slow pedal stroke or a rider gulping down water, just any little sign of weakness, and they're going to attack that rider. It's like looking for the weakest animal in the herd when the lions go hunting. That's exactly what they're doing here. So they're looking for the poker face. These guys are going to be doing their best to show some strength, but I guarantee you, these guys are feeling the effort today. 4 hours and 10 minutes on the bike for these riders, and in the end, this is going to come down to a 3-rider sprint to determine our national champion. Gap was at 35 seconds last time. We're working to get a new check coming in here from Race Radio shortly. It will come down. I highly doubt these guys finish the race with a 35-second gap. If they stay away, the field will almost certainly be in sight behind them. But that's only if the field can work together. If those guys start looking around behind them in the group with 4th place on down, they're not going to catch these 3 before the end of the day today.
I don't know whatever is going on back there, but you can absolutely count that it is complete mayhem.
Little over 3 miles to go. Now we're going to be able to see the chasers here on the turn because they're going to do a U-turn here in just a bit. And we'll take a look at just what that gap is. Again, 35 seconds was the last check that we had. If this is any bigger than 35 seconds, this one is gone. We'll know for sure that there's no chance of these guys being caught inside the final 3 miles of racing. So they're actually going to be on the other side of this parkway as they're making their way down onto James White Parkway. Right now, there are the chasers behind them off to the left-hand side. Dotsie, I think these guys are gone. With 3 miles of racing, you're looking at your national champion somewhere in this group of 3.
It's exactly what we saw in the women's race, right? We could see the peloton on the other side of Amber Neben, and she was just 1 and they're 3. So I think it's safe to say they are away with the jersey.
Well, we saw it and so did these guys. So now we're just waiting for the attacks to come, for the gamesmanship to start. Someone's going to start skipping poles here eventually. The question is who? Who will be the first to go? I don't know if these guys are going to be able to attack out of the group because they're pretty close to redlining right now. They don't have a whole lot of headroom to work with. If you're going 99% of your maximum, you can't just put that extra 1% to get away. So this one may stay together all the way to the line. And at this point, you just hope that no one cracks, hope that your legs hold up for the last 2.5 miles of racing.
And that you don't start cramping, because after a day like this out in the heat, that's seriously something that happens and can easily happen in the last couple kilometers. And if you get a really strong leg cramp, that's it, it's game over.
All right, on to the U-turn here. They'll get another look at the gap. Nielsen Palace leads it through. Alexi Vermeulen, second wheel. And Alexi Vermeulen's got to close the gap here. Alexi Vermeulen's starting to show a couple cracks in the foundation here.
I just don't know if he's faking it or not, because he just looks like he's suffering like a dog, but he keeps pulling through at the same speed of these guys.
Well, here's the chase effort off to the left-hand side of these riders, the left side of the picture there, as the second chase group goes by right there. So, boy, these guys looking better and better with each passing kilometer. Well, it sounds like Sepp Kuss, one of the chasers there. Brent Bookwalter is trying to go as well. Alex Howes is in that chase effort in the green jersey for Cannondale Drapac. But I think those guys are going to be out of the conversation today, because Larry Warbass, Alexi Vermeulen, and Nielsen Palace have been perfect in this group of 3. And look at Nielsen Palace continuing to tap out tempo on the front. Vermeulen starting to accelerate here. Look at the head bobbing side to side for Alexi Vermeulen. I think he might be starting to feel the temperature and feel the effort today. Oh, look at the face of Alexi Vermeulen. Vermeulen is giving it everything that he has in this front group right now. He is going to win a Stars and Stripes jersey here or die trying. I love this ride from Alexi Vermeulen.
Yeah, he is digging deep. I don't care what we say. I don't think he's faking it. He is digging for everything he's worth. Some of the guys getting rid of that last water bottle. It's more mental, right? There's no big climb to come, but it's just like lightening up the bike and just kind of mentally preparing to give it everything you have at the finish.
Man, this would be a really big win for Larry Warbass as well. I'm sure you saw the interview with him after his win at Tour de Suisse. You know, Larry Warbass is a team player. He's the guy who works for the team day in and day out for his Aqua Blue Sport team. They finally let him loose at Tour de Suisse, and he was able to capitalize on that opportunity. He broke down in tears in the post-race interview because that emotion, all that pent-up aggression and emotion just finally all came flooding out on the podium at Tour de Suisse. And to add a Stars and Stripes jersey would be the cherry on top for a great 2017 season for Larry Warbass.
Yeah, I think it would mean everything to him. He really did. He was really emotional, really teared up. That's what happens when you have all that adrenaline built up, and then it's such a relief when you cross the line. We saw a lot of emotion from the ladies that came and did interviews with us, from the winner even to second place. That was some disappointing tears, but it's just that emotion, it just flows.
All right, back over the bridge over the Tennessee River on James White Parkway. Which means at this point we are inside of 2 miles of racing to go to the finish. There are cars in the gap, which means these guys are not coming back. The gap is at least 1 minute now from the 3 leaders back to the chasers. So this is your podium. Gold, silver, and bronze in front of you right now. In what order? That'll be sorted out over the next 3 minutes. Off of the parkway now. Vermeulen in the yellow, Warbass in the blue, and Paulus in the white. Well, interesting enough, 2 riders out of Michigan, Larry Warbass and Alexei Vermeulen. Nielsen Paulus representing California in this break of 3.
Still working together as a well-oiled machine.
I'm surprised these guys haven't got word that they're safely away, but still taking poles. If I had to guess visually right now, I think Alexei Vermeulen is the one struggling the most. How much of that is actual struggling and how much of that is gamesmanship? That remains to be seen, because these guys will sort of play dead in a situation like this so that they go out of the mind of these other riders. But look at the way Vermeulen is struggling to stay on this wheel, out of the saddle. Look at his shoulders wagging side to side. That is not a good sign for Alexei Vermeulen in the yellow jersey. The young man out of Michigan has really started to struggle. He's got to get back up there and stay on the wheel of the rider in front of him.
Yeah, he is just absolutely dying. I mean, but he's just, there's so much grit and so much determination, because he keeps kind of coming off, and then it's just like, oh, and he pushes back onto the wheel. And he keeps taking pulls, too. So, oh, gosh, I think that we're really seeing the body language, though. I don't think this can all be gamesmanship. I mean, he's all over the bike.
Yeah, if I'm Alexei Vermeulen right now and I knew that the gap had gone over a minute, or what we're thinking is over a minute, I certainly wouldn't be working. Meanwhile, here comes an attack. Looks like Larry Warbass is going to be the first to hit it on the front. So here goes Warbass from a long way out, about 1.5 kilometers to go here for Larry Warbass. He will be the first to jump out of this group. So now the games have started, the attacks are coming, and Larry Warbass is the first one to go. Vermeulen responds. Paulus still on the wheel. This is the left-hand bend. And now look, they start looking around. Vermeulen goes wide. Look at Paulus coasting all over the road. Well, now it's the game to save energy. They know they're safely away at this point. This is what we were talking about. It was only a matter of time. And now it's all about tactics. It is not the fastest rider that wins the race today. It's the smartest rider. It's whoever plays this one the best. There's Nielsen Paulus trying to go now. Alexei Vermeulen still able to respond. And Larry Warbass waiting in the wings for his big move inside the final K. I'll grab a hold of something tight, because one of these men will be winning the U.S. Professional Road National Championships in a matter of seconds. Vermeulen does not want to be on the front here. He's trying to get the other guys to come around, but they're saying no way. They want to sprint from 2nd or 3rd position. The first guy coming to the line is in a really tough spot, because they're going to steal the draft. Now goes Paulus going to cover the wheel. At some point, you've just got to take this and run with it, Dotsy. Vermeulen is going to commit to this move as he continues rolling. Larry Warbass sitting on the back of this group of 3. A very good setup for Larry Warbass here. They've got the finish line in sight. Just under the bridge will be the line. Here's Vermeulen out of the saddle. Here comes Larry Warbass. Paulus is on the wheel as well. Warbass is first to go. Here comes Nielsen Paulus trying to come around. It'll come down to a sprint finish on the line, and Larry Warbass is the new professional road national champion. Warbass survives out of the breakaway and sprints to a win in Knoxville. Larry Warbass will wear stars and stripes in 2018.
What a victory. He looked so calm and cool in that breakaway.
Unbelievable. The breakaway of 3 stays away. They shock these guys who missed out on the front group. They're sprinting for 4th place. Boy, and a tough finish there for those guys. Colin Joyce going to the line for Rally Cycling.
Just bits and pieces all over the road.
This race absolutely exploded on the final lap of racing. But in the end, it came down to whoever made the right move, the right call to get into that front group of 3. And in the end, Larry Warbass, Nielsen Powis, and Alexi Vermeulen will round out the podium as Larry Warbass sprints out of the group to a victory at the 2017 U.S. Professional Road National Championships. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, your new national champion, Larry Warbass.
He timed it great. I thought, oh, he's waiting a little bit too long, right? But he really, when he went. He's so strong. Got right down into the TT tuck. Really barely got out of the saddle, right? It's just like full-on power.
Man, what a year for Larry Warbass. This really demonstrates what a cruel and beautiful sport this can be at the same time. You have good years and you have bad years, and Larry Warbass has had some rough years, but now he finds himself back on top form, winning a stage at the Tour de Suisse and now adding a Stars and Stripes jersey to his collection. It is good to be Larry Warbass in Knoxville, Tennessee, and there's no better feeling than this right now. Dotsie, I know you know this feeling. All your fellow competitors coming up to congratulate you, they know that Larry Warbass won this one fair and square.
Yeah, so much respect. I mean, really, you know, another theme of the day is patience. I mean, he really had about 95 miles of patience, you know, is what set this up for them to be able to do what he did here at the end.
All right, so as Larry Warbass cools down, gets the congratulations from his fellow riders, we are going to take one more short break. When we come back, we'll talk with our new national champion and see those 3 on the podium. Stay tuned. You're watching the USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. Welcome back, Knoxville, Tennessee, host of our USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships, where we just saw a thrilling finish on the line. 3 riders escaping from the field in the final lap of racing, and it comes down to a 3-rider sprint all the way to the line. We didn't know the winner until the last 10 meters, coming to the line in a fairy tale finish here in Knoxville, Tennessee for our new national champion, the bike of our champion, Larry Warbass, joining us in the booth now. Larry, congratulations, my friend. You have just won the national championships. You'll wear the Stars and Stripes jersey. What's going through your head right now?
I'm in disbelief. I think this has been the best 2 weeks of my life. I had a really great race in Swiss a couple weeks ago, and you know, I don't know, yesterday I felt pretty bad in the time trial. I was a bit disappointed, and I told some friends, I said, I guess I work well with disappointment, so hopefully tomorrow will be good. And honestly, I didn't feel good the whole day. At the start, I was suffering. Actually, I was suffering the whole time. I don't think I was the strongest today, but I think I was the smartest, and I can't believe it. I'm so happy.
Well, luckily, it's not how you start, it's how you finish out there,
exactly.
Right? Larry, we were talking about the ebbs and flows of professional cycling. You know, you have these years where you struggle to get results. You really feel like you're struggling on the bike, and then you have these great years. It's got to feel good for you. You were overdue for a good couple of weeks of racing.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm still shocked, and I'm going to be so honored to wear that jersey for a year, and it's going to be beautiful. I just hope I can help design it so I can make it look really good, you know?
Hey, Larry.
You said you were feeling really terrible out there. You really had a lot of patience in the first 95 miles. What was going through your head in those miles? Did you plan this?
I mean, it's hard to plan something like this when you're alone in the race, you know? I mean, I just knew I had to play it smart, and I was watching the other guys, and, you know, I talked to some of the other guys like Alexi Vermeulen and Brent Bookwalter, and, you know, I was thinking, oh, maybe we can make it hard, and then Rally made it hard before we got the chance, and it actually played really well into our hands because I said we need a chaotic race, and you know, that was the only way when you're alone that you can do anything. And honestly, yeah, somehow played it right, and it's incredible.
Curious how well you know Alexi Vermeulen in the breakaway. A couple Michigan guys riding together. Did you guys know each other before you hit the professional ranks together?
Oh, absolutely. We, I mean, we almost grew up riding together. You know, he's quite a few years younger than me, but he's also from Michigan. We used to be on the same team as juniors. It was called Priority Health, and it was based out of Grand Rapids. And yeah, so we kind of went up the ranks together. Him a couple years behind me. And, I mean, he rode an awesome race today. I honestly think, I was thinking before the finish that he was the rider of the day. I mean, he was so strong, and he really made some steps up, so I was happy for him. You know, I would have been happy to see him win, but I'm pretty glad I was able to get it in the end.
I want to take a look at the finish one more time because, as you said, it was the smartest rider who won the bike race today. Talk about the tactics coming in, the jump with the downhill finish. Was your plan to go early? I'm sure you started thinking about how this would play out in a three-rider sprint.
Absolutely. So, you know, I was riding it earlier this week, and I thought, okay, if I had the legs, I'd try to go on the climb. But I knew shortly into the race, I knew if I was going to win this race, I needed to do something somewhere else. And I thought about going on that climb with 2K to go, but, you know, the guys were working so well, and, you know, no one was shirking their duties or anything. And so then I just thought, okay, yeah, when I rode it a couple days ago, I knew that last riser would be important. Yeah. And I was actually planning on going on the riser, but then when we were going, I was able to really play cool and watch the other guys, and then I just knew if I could get a little bit of a jump on them on that downhill, it would be hard to come around because I don't have a good sprint. So I knew I'd have to get some advantage, and it worked out. So that was really cool.
All right, Larry, congratulations, our new national champion. You got a
Thank
Stars
you so
and Stripes
much.
jersey coming your way, my friend.
Can't believe it.
I can't wait to see the design and know you're going to have a hand in it. Larry
Absolutely.
Warbass, your new U.S. Professional Road National Champion. There's your top 10. Nielsen Palace finds second. Alexi Vermeulen on the podium in third. Robin Carpenter wins the field sprint for fourth for the Hollow Esco Citadel team, and Colin Joyce rounds out the top 5. When we come back, we're going to have your podium. We'll put the top 3 up there and award the Stars and Stripes and gold medal to Larry Warbass. Stick around for more from the USA Cycling Pro Road Championships after this. A lot of tired riders here in Knoxville, Tennessee after 110 brutal miles of racing in the heat, in the sun, and in front of huge crowds here in Knoxville. Dotsie, what a great national championship and what a great way to end it.
Unbelievable. They absolutely laid it on the line. And when Larry Warbass was coming up to be interviewed by us, I saw him check his SRM. So just right before I left, I said, what did it say? And he said 316 watts norm average power for 4 hours and 15 minutes. That is the kind of energy and effort those guys put out there today.
Well, that's what it takes to win a national championship. You know, we had 2 great races today here in Knoxville. We just saw the pro men's race wrap up, but let's talk about the pro women. If folks at home weren't able to join us for that pro women's race, you got to go back and watch it. Amber Neben had an incredible ride. She won the time trial yesterday for the Stars and Stripes jersey, the road race today, in addition to the World Champions time trial jersey that she earned last year, wearing this year. What a great day for Amber Neben in women's cycling.
Yeah, it was incredible. She showed a lot of patience early on, and then just really great timing. When she timed it, it was just right. She had said earlier, oh, I wanted to go a bit earlier, but no, it was spot on because they were only about 4 seconds behind her at the finish line. Perfect timing.
Amber Neben took a big gamble going on that solo move, but it paid off. Corinne Rivera had to settle for second place again this year, and Ruth Winder picked up the bronze medal in third place in our pro women's race. We're going to take one more short break. When we come back, we'll have your podium presentation for the pro men. You're watching the National Championships here in Knoxville, Tennessee. More out. Welcome back downtown Knoxville, Tennessee, reeling after an exciting finish to our men's pro race. If you enjoyed the racing today, be sure to join us in Louisville, Kentucky next weekend for our USA Cycling Criterium National Championships. We'll have another live webcast coming to you from there. Racing gets underway at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. That's July 2nd next weekend. It's going to be another great race as we head down to Louisville to determine our Criterium National Champion. A little bit different style of racing, but still very, very exciting. We've got a great crop of Criterium racers. So now putting our top 3 riders up on the podium, there's the young man out of Michigan, Alexi Vermeulen. He could be proud of this bronze medal today, Dotsie.
Yeah, he rode unbelievable because he was suffering like a dog, and he hung in there and didn't get swarmed up, and so he goes home with a bronze medal from Nationals.
Kim Bumpus from Visit Knoxville presenting the flowers, and Derek Richard Hall, President and CEO of USA Cycling, awarding the medals to our top 3 riders on the podium. Big smile for Alexi Vermeulen. There's California's Nielsen Powless for the Action Hagens-Berman team. Powless made it into the breakaway, did everything he could, and in the end, he'll have a silver medal to show for it. 2nd place today at our Pro Road National Championships. Well, that brings us to the man of the hour. The top step, number 1, belongs to Larry Warbass, the man who will represent the United States around the world for the remainder of the 2017 into the 2018 season with his Stars and Stripes National Champions jersey. So Kim Bumpus presents the flowers. He'll slip the prototype jersey on. Now each rider gets their own jersey designed with their team kit. They obviously have to show their team sponsors on it. So Larry will go back and work with his Aqua Blue Sport team to design his own custom Stars and Stripes jersey.
He looks really overwhelmed with joy, like he can't quite believe that just happened.
And of course, the gold medal around his neck. What a crop of riders. There is so much talent on this podium right here with Larry Warbass, Nielsen Powless, and Alexi Vermeulen, 1, 2, and 3 here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Worthy winners today. These guys absolutely earned it today.
Yeah, I don't think anyone deserved it more than these 3. That was so rough, seeing how hard they were going in that last lap and a half. Yeah, kudos to all of them.
Seems like it's still sinking in for Larry Warbass. Every time I see a shot of him, he has this sort of new revelation look on his face. It is going to take a long time, I think, before Larry Warbass realizes how big this is for him. The Sierra Nevada celebration on the podium. Oh, and Larry's all out of beer.
There's more where that came from.
What a great celebration. These guys certainly earned a drink after the race today. A hot day, a tough day. Again, we said 110 miles of racing. And it's hard to imagine that after all that racing, it came down to a 100-meter sprint.
Sure did. Great patience, perfect timing, and a lot of bravery and a little bit of luck there at the end.
Well, Larry Warbass doesn't get much better than this. It is good to be Larry today. That's for sure. It's good to be Larry this month with a win at Tour de Suisse and now a win at the National Championships. For Warbass, Powless, 1 and 2, and Alexi Vermeulen rounding out the podium with the bronze medal for our top 3. What a day. Dotsie, final thoughts on the Road National Championships today. 2 worthy winners in Amber Neiman and Larry Warbass.
Incredible. Is it cheesy to say that I'm just really proud to be an American cyclist today? No, it's not. It was just so inspiring. I mean, it went by so fast. I think we've been sitting here for 10 hours and it feels like 2. It was absolutely awe-inspiring and very, very deserving champions.
All right, well, that'll do it for us here from the 2017 U.S. Professional Road National Champions in Knoxville, Tennessee. What a race it was. Thanks on behalf of everyone here at the USA Cycling National Championships. Emily Proud and Trent McGill from WATE, my colleague Dotsie Bausch in the booth. My name is Brad Soner saying thanks for watching. Until next time, this has been the 2017 USA Cycling Pro Road National Championships. We'll see you on the start line next year.